Welcome back to the TPL XGS Finale Super Day. My name's Happy. Joining me tonight is Sirius, my duo, finally back at it. And we're all back like we always once were. And ready to go for OUTLAST Black versus JYNXZI Loyals. JYNXZI Loyals fresh off of a 14-3 win over the course of a best of 3. And OUTLAST Black not quite fresh off of qualifier number 1, as that was a few weeks ago, but that's the last time we saw them. Their first game of the finale is tonight, and they got the chance to make a statement against the team who made quite the statement in their last match.
I mean, it's certainly going to be tough to beat that 14-3 win that JYNXZI Loyals found in their very first matchup. So I hope for OUTLAST Black that it's at least going to be a much closer matchup because, well, again, like you said, we haven't really seen them a whole ton since the qualifier. So hoping for a lot out of them, especially to put up a better fight.
Yeah, and OUTLAST Black, a team that's ready to prove themselves to be at this tier 3 level, players who have been around that point. Meanwhile, the JYNXZI Loyals certainly have proven as much over the course of the last few months. But when it comes to OUTLAST Black, Dexy, Braden, Demented, Butcher, Stocky, it's a lot of names you've seen maybe getting to tier 3 leagues, maybe being left just off. Either way, they're not quite proven as that tier 3 team. They're still wanting to make the jump to a tier 2 team, one of those firmly tier 3 rosters backed by OUTLAST, looking to make a statement here today. And they got through in the first qual, so that's a pretty big statement to make in general. Also getting in over some pretty solid competition, beating out Team Sesh and the high table in 2 competitive BO3s to make it.
Yeah, and especially just kind of going off that, you're just talking about on the other end, JYNXZI Loyals, who, while technically not exactly the same team that got invited of M80X, but still, Aiden, Center, Asian, Rice, and Hat, 3 former pro players on this team is certainly going to be a tough hill for OUTLAST Black to climb over because of the fact that there's just so much talent on this roster. So you've already got the fact that they 14-3'd the other team just yesterday, and now you have to go against them as they're looking red hot going into this matchup. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of what OUTLAST can do because, again, we're still waiting to see what they can prove. We haven't seen them a whole lot of other tournaments outside of XGS Rite of Passage, Blitz, and then Coast R6 Easter Tournament. That's pretty much it as far as what we know from OUTLAST Black.
Yeah, I haven't heard of the Coast R6 Easter Tournament.
I didn't hear that until today.
Until you just said that, actually.
Yeah.
Map bans are in. Club and Lair taken off the board from OUTLAST Black. Those are the 2 maps that JYNXZI Loyals won just a couple days ago. So already making enough of a statement on those 2 maps so the teams they're playing against, maybe just coincidentally, those are also 2 maps that OUTLAST Black don't like. But I'm sure that those wins from JYNXZI Loyals played a factor into that ban phase just a little bit, as Sky and Labs taken off by JYNXZI Loyals. Means we'll have Cafe, Chalet, and then Bank left up for the decider should we need it, though my expectation personally is that JYNXZI Loyals probably won't let us need Bank, but that's the expectation of a lot of people, I'm assuming. Just means it'd be even more convincing if OUTLAST Black were able to make a massive statement today. It would only make that statement they make all the more massive, given that it was against a team who looks so red hot right now.
I mean, it would certainly solidify their position within the TPL division at this current point in time, is just already taking down one of the top contenders outside of Karn & Co, which we might see them play up against sooner or later. This is one of the maps that they played in the open qualifiers against Team Sesh, and they did lose this map 8-6 against Team Sesh. So OUTLAST Black do have a history on this map, but it doesn't exactly hasn't always exactly gone their way, excuse me. So hopefully they've learned some of their lessons, applied that to this game, especially since we don't exactly know what JYNXZI Loyals is going to bring out themselves.
Question ready to be answered in terms of what the JYNXZI Loyals have prepared on Cafe. Blackbeard and Montaigne, the 2 bans prepared for everybody coming out of the attacking side bans, so very clearly against some of those powerful shields that will leave the Blitz up. Castle, though, that's a very unique ban as well. It does have some application on Cafe, but you don't normally see that getting banned out, so already OUTLAST Black preparing some very unique tech for this map, letting you know why exactly they picked it.
It certainly is an interesting option. It does kind of make some of those top floor holds a little bit tougher, especially if you're holding on to Cigar a little bit more often, because we do see some teams like to bring out, do see it occasionally on some of the kitchen service bomb sites, of just holding down that whiskey bar. But those are really the two bomb sites you typically see Castle on. And otherwise, you can still easily bring enough utility to get around it. So it's definitely very interesting that Outlast Black have chosen to ban this out. Either they don't like what they see in scrims with that operator, or they just don't really like what JYNXZI Loyals might bring as an option later on, as they are starting on defense first. So that does leave up Maestro as an option, while Mai and Valkyrie as well. So you kind of take away one operator and leave up some very powerful operators on the other end for JYNXZI Loyals to abuse for the first 6 rounds of this game.
Plenty of opportunity to do just that. Coming in round number 1, the JYNXZI Loyals prep pretty standard defensive setup here on the top floor. They do bring the Mira. They opt to bring a Maestro as well, which is, I think, a little bit more unique than anything else, though he does definitely see some good play on this map out of any in the pool, realistically. Still yet to place any of those Evil Eyes down, though. Maybe just wanted to wait until after the drone phase so he didn't show himself, but they still bring the Brava on the attacking side of Outlast Black anyways, so lets you know that they are very prepared to have to deal with these Maestro cams and whatever other util they can steal with that, whether it be Valk cameras or anything else that might get in the way, as they start to make their way over to that 3rd floor immediately and show some presence towards the piano rappels.
Either showing that they've already got some good intel from their drones in the early prep phase, or just bringing it out as some of their standard default operator lineups for the attack. Still just getting a lot of information, spotting out some of those Valkyrie cameras, and now spotting out some of those Maestro bubbles over by long bar exactly. So just getting some of that information so that Rage Monster can go in with those clutch drones, start to hack some of those cameras, get some more information for his team to use later on, so that JYNXZI Loyals don't have as many options later on in the round, as we do see Rice get into one of the very first engagements as he's sitting just in this middle of the cocktail corner. Not really a whole lot of other options, as they've already got his number down, but nobody else really from Outlast Black to follow up, because nobody else has actually really gone down into the building as of yet. They're still all on top of the roof, or just kind of somewhere on rappel. So somebody needs to drop down, make that first step. And it looks like Balding is going to be that first player to make that contact.
I think it's Balding Wig, but I'm going to call him Balding too, because that's a way funnier name.
That's
and
a
Balding
much
Wig
funnier.
is kind of awkward to say. Either way, he'll make the move in. It's Braze to get the first kill, though, with JYNXZI following it up with a second. So Rice and Hat both gone. Former pro players with a lot of that last consonant, that last letter at the end of their name, almost already gone. Center still stands, and Aiden Tax was able to get that trade out, though it's responded right onto by Rage Monster, getting that kill in the center. Another one for Balding. And it's 1 versus 4 now for Eddie, stuck downstairs, and he couldn't even find a kill with the C4. Eddie, not a player they had in last week. They had Asian here instead. And now he's got to prove his worth on the roster. It looks like a 6-man squadron. He's got to take down a 4-man squadron all by himself, breaking some track stingers as he walks up the staircase. Will only let Outlast Black know exactly where he is, and a good swing from Rage Monster doesn't get himself killed, and actually does a lot of damage back to Eddie. Got to cross more track stingers to get somewhere. Good shots onto Balding. Rage Monster around the corner could possibly make this 2, but realistically, it is not going to be a round win, and Outlast Black start things off very strong on Cafe.
And again, I think it comes down to just that very first pick of Brava for Outlast Black, and just taking away so much information from JYNXZI Loyals, because you saw that they brought the Maestro, you brought the Valkyrie. Those are 2 very pivotal intel operators that you normally bring for a bomb site like Bar and Cocktail. And with the very minimal take that Outlast Black did, they really just dropped into Cigar, moved their way in through Long Bar, and then just cleared everybody out of their way so that way they could go for an easy plant. That's really helped by the fact that Rage Monster is sitting on that Brava, just hacking away all those cameras to make sure that JYNXZI Loyals have no real idea exactly where Outlast Black are coming from. They know they hear some intel from over towards Red, so over towards Cigar, but they don't know that they're going to be swinging in, pushing as aggressively as they were. So JYNXZI Loyals are essentially blind in that case, and have no idea that they're not going for a piano side take, not pushing Whitehall. They're just going for a very direct take and just hitting JYNXZI Loyals where they were blind in that round.
So, into round number 2. Fun fact, Bald and Wig is John with an H for the O. Weird. I think that's sometimes how people will spell it, but I feel like it looks odd. And then Stocky is Rage Monster, so we can call them that, but my producer told me to just call them the stupid names because they deserve it, which is very rude of him, so boycott
It's very
tape.
rude. How dare you?
Boycott tape. Anyways, JYNXZI Loyals defending that first floor bomb site. Outlast Black look like they want to go all the way up to the 3rd floor to start clearing out from the vert. They've got the Ram to do just that and really work on it, and the Dokkaebi to presumably make that roam clear just a little bit easier, but not really much roam to clear as all 5 members of JYNXZI Loyals cozy sat next to each other on the 1st floor.
Well, interesting that Aiden Texas are actually already taking quite a significant amount of damage early in the round. I think he was just sitting over towards Bakery or Freezer side. I can't exactly tell where he was at the time that he took that damage, but you're right. Outlast Black have pretty much a free roam clear as there's nobody from JYNXZI's team just sitting on the top floors. Nobody really detesting this roam clear for Outlast Black, so they have free reign for the next 2 minutes to do exactly whatever they want. They can get Rage Monster in, use those boogies to try to clear out this floor, as we see Rice is now having to deal with from below, and the first kill is going to be Rage Monster getting the first kill onto Hat, as now they're just putting all the pressure onto JYNXZI Loyals as they're ripping open this floor from up above.
Yeah, it's a good kill from Stocky. Dementa's even watching that walk up light because they have all this control, they have all this time to work that control. Maybe seems like it's too good to be true, but at that, they've even gotten a man advantage. And so you can kind of allocate someone to just watching one of your flanks, even though you have a Nomad. Might as well see if you can find a kill opportunity somewhere. It looks like the JYNXZI Loyals are just kind of waiting for Outlast Black to show themselves a little bit closer to the site. Now, Outlast Black kind of stalling out just a little bit. Gonna have a hard time getting some of these hatches open in terms of the Kaid claws on them, and that's gonna make it a little harder. EMP is here, so they could possibly use that to help out, but with 50 seconds, only so much time for Outlast Black to really use later, because they've kind of wasted about a minute here without getting much done.
And if they had opened that hatch a little bit earlier, they could have used that time a little bit more effectively, get it set up. I feel like they're just trying to scrambling now that they finally got that hatch open, but now they're just kind of to go for a very quick execute in the last 30 seconds.
They don't really have any control. Nobody's really on that 1st floor. Just a couple players on some staircases moving down. Rage Monster has actually moved his way down brown stairs, but it won't go so well. 2 kills for Eddie, another for Center. And now it's just Braze and Dexy. And now it's just Dexy alone. Good trade out from Rice. He'll make it happen himself at the end. And it was a good start for Outlast Black, but just nothing to break through that defensive setup.
And this is the big problem with Cafe, is that even with the defense not giving any sort of roam extension on the kitchen bomb site, there's nothing standing in the way of the attackers other than just getting down there, getting the floor open, and then starting to really put pressure onto the defense to move out of the way so you can go for an easy plant. Outlast Black took that control fairly quickly. I felt like they had plenty of time to do exactly that. They got the boogies in, started ripping open those floors, started tearing away with the sledge as well. But then what was the follow-up? They took forever to get that hatch open towards Freezer. They could not get that open for the life of them until about 45 seconds left in the round, and by that point you could already see that they do not have all the puzzle pieces that they need. They suddenly start to go for a white take. They try to clear out VIP. There's nothing else other than that, because they didn't set up for that exact kind of play. They were set up more for taking bunker, trying to go for a plant there, but at the very last second they try to clear out a piece of position that they were just not ready to take. JYNXZI Loyals read into that perfectly, put every single body over towards that brown side, over towards white, and they took care of business very effectively.
Also looked like a little bit of mistimed attack from Outlast Black. It felt like one player would go down, another player would go somewhere else. Felt like the whole push didn't really happen all at the same time, and so of course that's going to happen. You give JYNXZI Loyals those kinds of opportunities to one by one take some kills, and they will take them every single time. Aiden Tack's going to take that opportunity to get a kill and run away with the opening frag on a Dexy. Losing your Nomad very early is rough. They do also bring the Gridlock, so kind of doubling down on that flank watch, which makes sense if you're going to go for an attack onto these 2nd floor bomb sites, and like it seems they're doing right now, go so heavily from that vert, but even still, incredibly impactful spawn peek from Aiden to get rid of Dexy that fast.
Certainly not going to help Outlast Black in the later portions of this round, as they're already a band down of what's going to be a very tough upstairs clear. They still have to deal with all these players up top, so that's going to be the main problem number one, is just clearing out all of Cocktail. But it doesn't look like anybody from JYNXZI Loyals is actually sitting up top in Cocktail at this current point in time, so they're actually just forfeiting that bit of control. Hat actually is now taking up that position over towards that Cocktail corner. So now they're trying to send all their utility at him, but he's pretty much the only one, and he's still got some company over towards top white by Stacks with center, and they're just wasting time at this point. The grenade goes out to try to clear Hat. They do finally take care of him, but he's already wasted half the round at this point, Happy.
They do have center still up here. He has shot a couple of SMGS shots just around the corner. So maybe they will know. He's made his way over to Cocktail, though, and they seem to know there's one in Piano, and Rage Monster is going to get a nice kill into Aiden Tax. That's John getting one shut down. Does get responded onto, but a knockdown and then a finish found from Dementeds from the white window. Outstanding plays from Dementeds to kill two. Likely soon to find that Center is a free kill himself as well, so it's going to be a free opportunity to hit the site. And they managed to catch Rice swinging that same window, and he made the mistake of the round that closes it out. Outlast Black take another lead.
And that was a very good take by Outlast Black. Recognized the kind of weaker positions over towards that Cocktail take. Definitely looked like JYNXZI Loyals had a very good start to that round, getting the opening kill. But then towards the later portions of the round, it seems like they overcommitted towards that white hold. I didn't dislike the take that they had in Cocktail, just letting Hat kind of sit in the corner of Cocktail, waste time, eventually die, maybe get a kill back, but unfortunately did not seem to be able to do so. But still, he wasted half the round up at that point, still made Outlast Black really have to commit a lot of time and resources to clearing that position. But then what did we see after that? JYNXZI Loyals all committing to that white window take, just trying to make sure that they could at least find one kill back, but they overcommitted themselves, and unfortunately Outlast Black just read into their number, read every single position of just every overcommit by JYNXZI Loyals up until that point, so they just get a very easy kind of take up top, and they didn't really have to do anything to get towards the site itself.
All right, Stocky's raging, John is balding. Stocky's raging, John is balding. I'm going to tell myself that for the rest of the cast, so I make sure I get the names right. But round number 4 upon us, with Stocky on the Bravo once again. Maybe prepared for a Maestro to be up towards that top floor. No Maestro this time, though, so maybe just either going to hack some of those cams. Specifically, that default up on that 3rd floor can be incredibly helpful, as it sees a lot of the map, specifically the objective itself, so it can be incredibly useful if you get that. They bring the IQ with it and the Twitch as well, so a lot brought to deny what JYNXZI Loyals wants to do. And it seems like so far that's been a pretty effective strat for them, especially on that 3rd floor. They won it last time, so JYNXZI Loyals have switched things up just a tad. Stocky is raging, John is balding. I guess that's going to be there the rest of the cast.
All right, well, I mean, that'll give us a good reminder. Center does take down Demented, one of the people that doesn't have their name switched, so that at least makes it easier for us. So that's a good opening kill by JYNXZI Loyals and a better start than last time we attempted this bomb site. And they do have a lot more utility committed to making sure that Outlast Black does not have an easy bar take like they saw in the very first round. So it definitely, Outlast Black is going to have to do a lot more to actually clear out this position, put a lot more resources into making sure they can get into a safer spot. But now they've lost that Grim, which is going to make finding some of those harder players in some of those corner spots a lot harder to take care of.
Hat does manage to find one on a wide swing, but that player in that corner shut down right after. Rice disconnects, and that's going to allow Stocky an opportunity to run in. The names we have in the bottom left corner actually just saved me with the right name there. And now it's Aiden and Eddie. Not quite in the right spots. Aiden on the wrong floor. Still with the C4 in hand, though. Chucks it up, but they end up switching spots. They aren't ready for Eddie to come through, and he just barely misses too many shots. Damage dealt, but not quite enough to close it out, and he'll get closed out himself. Braze found the one on the player downstairs as well. So nothing to worry about for Outlast Black. Clean as can be. And a 3-1 lead for them.
And despite losing that opening pick, Outlast Black still took care of all the utility that was there to stop their bar take very effectively. Brought out the Twitch to clear out that one cocktail mirror facing right towards that long bar area. Really made it a lot easier for them to push up after they smoked off the freezer doorway so that way they can push a little bit further in. And also helped out by the fact that Rice disconnected at a very poor opportunity for JYNXZI Loyals, as they did look like they were putting up a much tougher fight in that round, trying to stop that bar take, which seems to be Outlast Black main take that they want to go for. Don't really want to mess with piano side. They know that's going to be a tough spot to clear, so they're just going for the most minimal take possible, and that's clearing out Cocktail just enough that they feel confident enough that they can push forward, try to get a plant down, and if not, kill everybody in their path. And that's also aided by the fact that JYNXZI Loyals have now put 2 different roamers downstairs, and that's less bodies on site. Now you're having to rely upon a miracle C4 to try to stop that post plan if it does get to that point. So Outlast Black just have such an easier time trying to clear out this bar position and just get into a position where they can go for that kind of execute happy.
It's looked really easy overall for Outlast Black so far. Last series, JYNXZI Loyals won every single round except for 3. That is the last series that the JYNXZI Loyals played. That was against the Unks, who, well, for what it's worth, just had a pretty competitive series against Karn and Co., keeping it max regulation on map 1 and then overtime on map number 2, though they weren't able to take either map. But already Outlast Black have gotten 3 rounds. Question is, are they going to get any more, or will the JYNXZI Loyals somehow go on a 13-round streak to keep themselves to only allowing their opponents 3 maps per series? Something tells me the second one isn't going to happen, but hey, you won't know whether it happens or not unless you stay right here through this break we've got coming up to get Rice back in the lobby. Once we're all good, we'll see if it can happen. we're back into it, ready to go with almost Outlast Black and JYNXZI Loyals back into the lobby. It'll take a little bit, but get a look back at what already happened in a very impressive attack from Outlast Black. They have won 3 of 4 already, and the JYNXZI Loyals are looking a little bit shaky at this point, serious. Not something we expected given how strong they looked in their last series.
Yeah, certainly is catching me a little bit off guard, but I can't really take anything away from Outlast Black. They've been really attacking that top floor bomb site very effectively,
yeah.
taking away bits of very key utility to make some of those bar takes a lot easier for them to go for. So, well, seeing if they can kind of go for a little bit better of a kitchen service attack, because last time that's the only round that they've really struggled on is just clearing out that top floor a bit more effectively, getting into a position where they can go for that execute and not really fumbling around with something that's as simple as just opening a hatch and then scrambling to try to figure out what their next step is. So if we can see Outlast do that, I'll be very impressed to see if they can go up maybe 4-2 or even 5-1 at this point.
Oh, spawn peak gonna make things even better. And it happens again. And again, it's JYNXZI who dies to it. Last time he was on Nomad, this time he's on Dokkaebi, but even still, it's Aiden Tax to take his second spawn peak of the game so far. And this time, same player gone, different operator, but pretty much same result. JYNXZI Loyals in a very good spot early on.
Very good, pivotal opening pick by Aiden Tax, just getting that early pick of Dokkaebi off the board, especially now that 2 roamers from JYNXZI Loyals are up on the board. Aiden Tax still somewhere upstairs on the 3rd floor, actually vacating his way back towards White Stairs, getting closer to his teammate Rice. So now there's still 2 players on that 2nd floor for Outlast Black to have to clear at some point, and they're still struggling to make their way into the building. The only one at this point is Balding, so just seeing if he can find his way onto these roamers, get some more of that information, that way can start to pressure these players back, so that way they can start to actually open up these floors and not have to worry about some of these roamers still attacking them at this point.
No, they don't have to worry about the roamers anymore because the roamers are gone. Nobody left there, and Outlast Black, because they've already lost all of their drones but 4, and they haven't really gotten a good redrone opportunity, they still think there are roamers in the area. Drone goes through now from Demented, he'll spot that no one's there, but unfortunately, John could not spot center down below, at least by the time he did, it was just too late. C4 out the window, won't do anything. But center with that, it's actually going to start to retake up red stairs, just a little bit. And Outlast Black, after suffering big losses early, are going to have to figure out how exactly they pull this one back.
At this point, they just need to rely upon some of those floor angles that they've opened up above, but now they're losing so many more bodies. Only 2 players left, Demented and Braze, now having to do much more work, and they're already getting into a close contact fight, and it's going to be a flawless round for JYNXZI Loyals as they just put the pressure on onto that roam game and make Outlast Black not able to do a damn thing about it.
Yeah, salt in the wound from the Deagle as the JYNXZI Loyals get their second. Still a lead for Outlast Black, so you don't want to get ahead of yourself. But that was a much better defense of the basement than we saw before from the JYNXZI Loyals, and they had already won that basement defense, or not basement defense, but first floor defense. They had already won it the first time. So all they really added was just an extra bit of sauce. They add in that spawn peak, they add in the slight roam game, and they know that Outlast Black, if they can shoot enough the drones and put enough in the way, it's going to be even better in terms of what you're going to be able to do from Outlast Black. It makes sense that the Outlast Black are going to get a little bit scared off by that room, right? JYNXZI Loyals are trying to get really in their face, but it's kind of tough for Outlast Black to get anywhere. But now we're back to a site that Outlast Black won the first time through, and we have to see what adaptations JYNXZI Loyals make here to get things going.
Well, at this point, we just need to see JYNXZI Loyals be a little bit more patient on that top floor hold. Just make sure that they don't give a body away so easily over towards Cocktail, and then force all their bodies over towards that Whitehall, trying not to give away those free picks for Outlast Black to take care of. They need to make sure that their holds up above are going to be a little bit more effective, so that way they can effectively waste time, because that's been the big thing, is that they need to waste Outlast Black's time, because they've not been able to really effectively do so on the rounds that they have lost. So trying to work on that a little bit more seems to be the game plan for JYNXZI Loyals, as they're putting a lot more of an emphasis over towards this piano Nano side, making sure that if Outlast Black do push towards that side, they're going to have to waste a lot more time clearing that out.
Well, Outlast Black, I'm interested in seeing how they get through this clear, and I'm actually really interested in hearing the team comms. Fortunately, we got a listen in ready to go, so we'll take a listen into the Outlast Black comms and see how they're navigating this early game as it stands right now.
If we walk,
Got one
go
Valcam.
fast, but I think we're good.
I'm getting one Valcam. I got
Running
it.
lower.
Yo,
You got
I'll
my
just- no,
Bravo drone.
nothing for the long bar walk, bro.
Yeah.
That's the Synchron Pixel.
Do you know about C1? Do we need to
On,
get
on,
the
C2, on the C2 bar.
I'm being it.
Can you get the pixel shield? IQ?
Okay, Nate, C1 dead, C1 dead.
I can, yeah, I can.
Nice.
He's just holding it, bro.
Yeah.
I have to walk long bar.
I
Okay,
got
C1.
it.
One
C1,
ticket.
get replaced.
And ticket. Ticket and pixel.
And Stocky walking up long bar, ready to try and make the play to bring back this man advantage. Hasn't quite found it just yet, but Braze is able to. Catching the rotate back in that white window. Such a prosperous position. Multiple rounds in a row for Outlast Black, but they know it's not clear. They know there's another player upstairs. And it's that man tucked in by ticket. It's Eddie. 5 and 4 already on his KD, and they're ready for him to be stuck in the corner, and they run him down perfectly. Man advantage now for Outlast Black into the last minute.
Very good, effective clear, just to equalize things back out and then get that man advantage and getting that intel to make sure that ticket player is going to be neutralized going to that final minute of the round. They still have enough time to start to open up this floor, push anybody outside of readings that the way they can go for that very safe default plan over towards that doorway.
That's what they want to do. This certainly is going to be known by the JYNXZI Loyals.
Oh,
The question is, what are they going to do about it? Center tucked in behind the couch. This not going to be expected. And the Fenrir mine is going to make it really tough for Braze to fight. He has shot it out. Center's got to make the play now, though, because his teammate has died. Center pops up with a great flick for Stocky. And he manages to catch it out anyways. Center with a shocking play, and the instant he shows his presence, he's no longer there because of a masterful shot from Stocky, making it 4-2 Outlast Black.
and it just feels like a lot of that round was just over reliance on just trick plays by JYNXZI Loyals to really just hide out in corners, try to catch Outlast Black off guard, because a lot of their hold up top wasn't really doing what they needed. They didn't waste enough time on that top floor clear. They got a few bodies, were able to get it to, or at least it's a 3v3 towards the halfway point in that round. But then after that point, what do we see JYNXZI Loyals do? They hide out over towards Ticket, hope that they are not spotted out by a drone. Unfortunately, that player of the Frost was, so Outlast Black are able to very effectively clear him out. And then what do? They slow it down, start to clear out some of that floor up above, make sure that nobody from JYNXZI Loyals can very easily sit in reading outside of just laying down behind that couch, try to wait it out for that plane to go down. Unfortunately, there was just not enough time left on the clock in favor of JYNXZI Loyals that Outlast Black still had enough time to set up for that execute, go for that play, and then Stocky just really at that point just had a very good reaction at that very end of that round to make sure that they can get that round win, make sure it doesn't go JYNXZI Loyals' way after just some very crazy nonsense.
Yeah, it was a good start for the JYNXZI Loyals, but Outlast Black, I'm really impressed by how they've set up so many effective cutoff angles. Those white window plays have always been so effective when they've pulled them out. And even just that alone has been really helpful, trying to cut off some of the roam game. But something they've been struggling in a lot today has been the opening pick department. Aiden Tax has managed a couple spawn peaks, and this time around he'll get another opening pick. I believe his third of the series so far. That one just on a wall bang, trying to fish for a kill, because why not? Take the shots if you know you might catch an opportunity, and you just might give your teammates a 5-on-4, but quickly negated as JYNXZI is going to shut down Eddie trying to repel on the site window.
Well, very good just response back from Outlast Black to get that kill back. Bless you. At that point, I don't know if our audience heard that sneeze. But
I muted myself on VMix just before.
I just outed you on that, apparently. But either way, Outlast Black able to get that kill right back. They still have enough information on the board that they can go for a C4 play if it comes down to that, because they're still very much relying upon that presence downstairs. But we've seen this before from JYNXZI Loyals about how this hasn't really been effectively holding on to a lot of that control. But we'll see if they're able to waste enough of that time for this mining bomb site. So now just wasting a little bit more of that, prepping that C4 for anybody that walks into piano very deep. JYNXZI Loyals don't know if they have that spotted out, but Center, if he pulls out that scanner, is able to really spot that out, give his information to the rest of his team, and make sure that they can avoid that effectively.
And so far, slow attack from the JYNXZI Loyals. They're not even really in on the third floor, and they got to get to the second. Center is into the site, though, and a big alert for Center is going to start to shut it down. Doesn't quite get more than one, though, because the kill to John responded quickly with a kill from Stocky. That's exactly what OUTLAST Black needed, and now they might be able to make the flank play themselves as Braze starts to threaten the walk-up red. Cam shot out by JYNXZI, waiting for an opportunity, as the Fenrir mine is going to spot one close to that window. Aiden maybe wants to go for a plant here, but he's got to try and smoke himself off. Otherwise, he might get caught. He is going to get caught. Whoa. Big flank for Braze. JYNXZI with another at the same time. It's got to be Hat 1 versus 3, and it's not going to happen. Braze with another big kill at the end of the round. And OUTLAST Black 5-2 advantage after their first defense.
And just yet again, just another kind of minimal take from the attack, trying to take as little control as possible, just trying to hit the site as quickly as possible, because clearly Center saw something of mining is completely free. There's nobody over towards pillar. I can get the guy inside very effectively. Is able to neutralize the Valk, but is not able to get the second upon the guy in dining at that point, and so unfortunately lose that little bit of control, and that gave OUTLAST Black just a little bit enough time to start to bounce back, try to go for those flanks over towards red side, and take care of anybody who's actually trying to go for that second attempt of that execute. So JYNXZI Loyals clearly relying a bit too much on the gridlocks to try to stop any of those flanks, don't have the actual drones to give any other info onto their blind spots, so JYNXZI and Braze are able to get some of those effective kills to really disrupt that entire attack by JYNXZI Loyals, who looked like they were off to a good start yet again. But I mean, Happy, how many times are we going to see Aiden get that opening kill but not able to convert that into a round win?
I think we're going to see it 3 times. Actually, no, they converted it the last time.
They converted
on the
at least
basement.
one.
Yeah, so they're at least
They're
1 for
3.
2. 1
Wait,
and 2, 1 for 3. They had another
Yeah.
spawn peek. He had the Valk spawn peek earlier on, and I think they lost that round.
I only have 3. I
And
could be wrong.
the first time he's
I'm bad at
well,
math.
yeah, but 1 for 3, and 1 and 2. The difference.
Yeah. There you go.
Same
figured
thing.
it
They're
out.
just said differently. Okay, we were in the same.
We
page.
figured it out.
Anyways, we're getting back into it, knocking the rust off a little bit today. 30 seconds into round number 8, and JYNXZI Loyals seem like they're knocking the rust off. Except they had a great game only a couple days ago, so really shouldn't feel like it's this big a difference. But it has been quite a stark contrast to what we saw from them last time as the JYNXZI Loyals make their way through the third floor. Aiden Tax going for the phone call to try and see if anybody is outside of that third floor, but he will not find a soul, as this entry is going to get 2 floors of the map entirely for free.
Yet again, just OUTLAST Black just not really doing anything at this point in time, just waiting things out like we saw JYNXZI Loyals do on their own defenses that very first time we saw them go on this bomb site. So we'll have to see if they can also replicate that same result of just being so disciplined that whatever side that JYNXZI Loyals do eventually go for, they can easily respond very quickly and just kind of bounce back into the round, even if they've taken so much control. And that's a nice C4 from Braze, taking down the buck of Hat, just making sure that it's going to be so much harder for JYNXZI Loyals to start to rip open this floor and get into a good space in the last minute of this round.
Ooh, the Nade and Eddie combo is going to do the trick onto Brace, though, so that's a good response back. With just over a minute to work with for this JYNXZI Loyals attack, they have a lot of control. And namely, with the use of that Sens, they might have a little bit of utility to help them get past some of these far extended positions from OUTLAST Black. That's the big trouble that we saw OUTLAST Black run into when they tried to go for their own attack. They walked up on some of the power positions from the JYNXZI Loyals, and they just couldn't flush any of those players out. Still 4 flashbangs to try and do just that. And a Sens wall into the site in a pretty good spot. is now going to attempt to enable the entry, but the C4 for Rage Monster is going to shut it down. That's a big kill for Stocky. He's looking for more on the walk down White Stairs, but doesn't really need to do too much. Rin just needs to make sure he holds on to his life. Dexy's got the kill into Aiden Tax. It's Center and Eddie trying to sneak their way through, but Center towards Red Stairs is going to go down, and Eddie didn't get the kill. That was a not quite close round, and JYNXZI Loyals shut down very fast. Outlast Black on match point.
And just a very good C4 by Rage Monster at the very end of that round after what was kind of a very slow, methodical take by JYNXZI Loyals, doing a very similar take that Outlast Blacks did on their very first attempt at that bomb site as well, just really taking their time trying to open up a lot of those floors. An early C4 kill onto Had does kind of throw a wrench into their plans, but they are able to trade it back out. But then again, as I mentioned earlier, a nice C4 from Rage Monster over towards VIP is able to take down the Sens that's just dropping down that freezer hatch, and that was kind of telegraphed by them throwing out those ROU projectors, throwing those flashbangs. So Rage Monster, all he has to do is just wait for the right time to throw that C4 out, get the guy with the defuse kit in hand, and he does so very effectively. So now it kind of throws another wrench into JYNXZI Loyal's plans. They don't have a clear, effective way to take care of those guys because they were trying to go very minimal again, not take care of those power positions over towards VIPs. They are trying to take care of that with the ROU projectors, but because he died on that initial drop, they no longer have that tool to use, and so they lose out on their execute because they don't have everything that they need to get that done.
Oh, the JYNXZI Loyals backs against the wall now, as Outlast Black have gotten pretty much everything in a row on him. And there's got to be response for the JYNXZI Loyals, otherwise it's going to be map over and it's Outlast Black taking it real quick. Letting us know at the very least that they picked this map for a reason. Their cafe has looked great. The strats, their understanding of the map and how to play it seems top notch. I'd be very, very scared of taking Outlast Black to this map in weeks to come, but for now, still a rough start for the JYNXZI Loyals. Seem to be concentrating a lot on this top floor, or above this top floor, and not really with a lot of util to work with. A triple repel, just me and the guys rappelling down the side. Not really with a ton of util to break in here, but it feels like they want, like, I have this weird feeling that they want to go for some kind of a team play all at once.
I'm definitely getting that vibe as well, just going for a very heavy cocktail take, spotting out the player over towards pillar so they know that they need to keep an eye out on that, but trying to nade out that guy over in cocktail corner is going to be able to try to at least move him out, but no damage done with both of those nades tossed out by Center. So now they're going to have to wait even longer. They didn't get the guy they needed out of the way. They know he's there. He's taunting them at this point, Happy, but they can't do anything about it at this point. All they can do is just watch all these guys in positions they know about but don't have a way to clear them out.
They're going to start to go for the repellent. Let's take a listen to the JYNXZI Loyals to see how they're common for this execute.
I traded the mirror.
You just saw cocktail?
Yo, one pillar. Yes, this guy's still cocktail. I think you guys just kill the pillar guy real quick.
Hey, we're in pillars. Y'all drop red and walk down on him.
He's like by the ring. He's like by the ring wall. He's like close P1 by the like reading door.
Hey, can you go like shoot at him? I'm walking at him.
He's like in this corner, walking into reading. On head.
Drop pillar.
One more hopped over.
Another one drop.
One more hopped over.
I'm line
Yeah,
scanning.
Dead.
Nice.
I'm dropping red. Can we just drop?
Captain was cocktail. Just thrown.
I'm gonna go see through
Find his Frost. Frost might be bathroom or like freezer.
I have no drones.
Frost is pixel.
We're just flood site.
Yes,
Last one
last one was cocktail last game.
Swung on the hatch. Going CS door. Going to balk.
I'm repelling it.
I'm drop Charlie.
He's in the balk.
Nice.
Well, at that point, gotta say that was a very good mid-round adjustment for JYNXZI Loyals. They recognized that their cocktail take was not exactly going to go exactly the way they planned, not able to clear out that corner player of cocktail, but then they adjust to try to clear out that second floor. They recognize that there's a player of the Jaeger sitting over towards pillar side, recognize that they need to take him out, and then got a freebie as well with another player dropping into pillar, taking him down. And then at that point, they had so much control that they could slow things down with 50 seconds left, recognize exactly what else is a big problem of them all the information was going the way of JYNXZI Loyals, that they just knew exactly what to go for, what was the freest play, and OUTLAST Black tried to do as many aggressive plays to get back into that round because they were recognized that they're struggling to stop whatever adjustment JYNXZI Loyals was making, but they just did not have the time or the manpower to do it happy.
Yeah, I really like that play from JYNXZI Loyals to try and isolate those players towards pillar, only thinking it was the one at first and then realizing it's two downstairs, but you've got Hat making the play from behind, so not a shot that they were going to expect it. Kind of an overcommitment towards that pillar defense from OUTLAST Black. That is that defense of pillar, because obviously that's not the site, it's the area below the site itself. And it looked like you had a decent hold on the site itself. They still really hadn't pressured you out of Piano or out of even Cigar Shop. They barely even pressured that third floor at all. So to commit so much to that second floor and run the risk of getting flanked like you did, that's a big risk that did not pay off. But OUTLAST Black still with a little bit of breathing room, as they've got 3 more rounds that they can lose before it's actually time for overtime. And if they win even just a single one of the next 3 rounds, should we even get through 3 rounds for the rest of the map, they will lock it out and send us to Chalet with themselves at the advantage. The JYNXZI Loyals look for a little bit more where that came from on that last attack.
I'm just looking at JYNXZI Loyals operator lineup at this point, Happy, and just wondering exactly what they want to go for. Are they just trying to minimally clear out Piano so nobody from up above is able to pressure them out, so that way Center can just hop into that mining window, try to get a free plant in, at least let Rice have a little bit more space to kind of go for that plant effectively. That's what I'm thinking that JYNXZI Loyals is wanting to do in this round, but they are just needing to clear out some of these positions. They spot out somebody in the long bar area, need to clear out this bathroom player, which they do with the ace charge, so that way at least Rage Monster doesn't feel as comfortable, but they're not aware of JYNXZI just swinging into Cigar.
This is really well played from OUTLAST Black. They're forcing JYNXZI Loyals into their setup, and then they're making plays around that setup that JYNXZI Loyals aren't expecting them to. OUTLAST Black not afraid to play things bold. Bray's getting bold on the white stairs. A Bray's in play from him. Not quite going to get punished, not going to pay off, but at least he keeps himself alive. That's most important out of this 5-on-4. Everybody keeping themselves alive. And the only one who's really at any risk right now is Stocky, stuck inside a freezer, just waiting for someone to make the play into him. Center already shows face through most of that top floor. They think they have the third floor themselves. They're about to be shown they are sorely mistaken if they don't clear out Stocky up in freezer. And the shield has done the trick to clear pretty much everything except for the freezer itself, and Stocky isn't even going to spot him. That movement just around the corner, make sure that Center can't see you and Stocky can't see Center, but he's going to know there are players up here anyways. But he pops his ult at the wrong time. Tries to go for the big play, but instead he completely misses. Can't kill Rice to save his life, as it's 2 mags that have gone and no kills out of it yet. Center's just going to run straight through the gas, and now Stocky needs to know he needs to get away. Chased down by the shield, but his teammates have it covered because John has just shot down Rice. Eddie from down below, though, able to get 2 and kind of bringing JYNXZI Loyals back into this round just a little bit. Case is abandoned to the site, but Center doesn't care. It's got to be a big play for John. He gets what he wanted, a knockdown and a hat as well. It's Center alone, wants to go for the res, needs some cover to help him get the plant down. They find the kill and a hat, though, and Center's not even close to sticking. And so a hero play from John is going to lock out the map. OUTLAST Black 73 on Cafe, handing JYNXZI Loyals their first map loss of this season, and they look primed and ready to maybe 2-0 going into Chalet.
And showing that they have the boldness to go for very aggressive plays to make sure that JYNXZI Loyals do not have the confidence to go for the exact play they had in mind, trying to clear out some of the Piano side, making sure that nobody else is kind of bother them over towards Whitehall or Piano, but they don't keep in mind that JYNXZI is getting even more aggressive over towards Cigar side. They pushed up, they droned him out earlier in Long Bar, but they didn't bother to double check on that again. They just kind of assumed that he would have fallen off, but no, he re-aggresses, gets that first kill, and then they get even more aggressive onto that Whitehall, try to make sure that they can find at least another kill. Eddie tries to make a very good play down those white stairs to try to follow up with that, get 2 kills back, makes it a closer round for JYNXZI Loyals, but at that point the site presence is just still too strong because of the fact that JYNXZI early in that round dismantled a lot of that early push by JYNXZI Loyals, and they don't have the time or the means to actually go for an effective execute at the very end.
rough close to that map for JYNXZI Loyals. Only one defensive round win for them out of the 4 that they gave a try. Or actually, only one attacking round win out of the 4 that they tried. Only 2 defensive wins. No wins outside of that first floor. They'll have a lot to work on going into Chalet. Their own map pick, at least. But can they fix it that fast? You'll have to come back in just a few minutes to see. Well, it was a longer break than
What?
we expected. I ended up taking a nap, and we are back. And they're still not ready to go. They've only got like 8 in lobby, I think. So I might just go nap again. But here we are. Map number 2 is ready to go. And I was expecting a little bit more out of the JYNXZI Loyals. I cannot lie to you, Sirius. As someone who ended up casting them in their last game, and they were looking dominant today. Very, very weird start. A little bit shaky.
I was just fully expecting this to be like some hour-long like rant on YouTube that I was expecting. Did I just like tab into the wrong thing? But yeah, I mean, at the very least, I very much agree. Just the little bit I saw of this previous game from JYNXZI Loyals, I definitely expected a little bit more out of them. Maybe Cafe wasn't their map. It is Outlast Black's pick. So moving on to Chalet, they may be a little bit more comfortable, put up a better fight than what we saw in Cafe. But they definitely looked a lot weaker than what we saw back on those 2 previous maps of Clubhouse and Lair against the Youngs. So we definitely need to see them bounce back just a little bit more on their next map. Hopefully it will go a little bit better, at least a little bit more competitive, because at that point, that was just after a certain point, Outlast Black was just running away with things.
Yeah, they were definitely running away with it towards the end. And it didn't feel like it was anything particularly flashy that they were doing. They were just kind of playing really good fundamentals. They had a good idea of what they wanted to do, what they wanted to hold. And it's really nice to see that out of a team like Outlast Black. That's what's going to prove to other teams that you are worthy of being tier 3 firmly in that conversation, maybe even in the conversation to make it to tier 2 come events in the future. It's going to be very exciting to see this Outlast Black roster develop if they choose to keep all 5. I just hope they choose to play with their actual names on display when we actually get to cast them. Because it has been slightly annoying to have to cast John Bolding and Stocky Raging, but either way. We get into Chalet, where they get to pick the defense side first. So, even though it is JYNXZI Loyals map pick, can expect a pretty solid start for Outlast Black, as this is their preferred half.
Outlast Black going with the Blitz ban, which is not something we typically see on a map like Chalet. So that's already, once again, proving that they're going against the standard traditions of what typically is banned on these maps. So getting rid of that pretty early on is definitely unexpected, but I do like the idea, just making sure that JYNXZI Loyals can't go for those fast plays like we saw them try to do back on Cafe. Brava ban is a little bit more expected, just taking away some of that information from the attackers is definitely going to be a big problem, because we saw a lot of her being brought up back on Cafe. Valkyrie, same deal, but at the other end for the defense. So definitely just going with a lot of the standard conventions for JYNXZI Loyals, but we'll have to see if Outlast Black do go with another off ban with their last defensive ban. We just got to wait a second. And Maestro. Interesting that they opt to ban him, considering that Bravo was already banned previously. So just definitely either don't like him and just in general just want to get rid of him, because I mean, Bravo gone, that usually empowers him quite a bit more.
Yeah. Very targeted bans here. Other than the Valk, which is just kind of a generally good operator on this map, the Blitz was something JYNXZI Loyals brought a lot, and so Outlast Black are going to take that off the board. Same goes for the Maestro, and especially after that Brava ban. Maestro can be very powerful, especially on the basement, which is the first side Outlast Black are going to go to, funnily enough. So they take Maestro off of the board because they know if they don't have the Brava up, that Maestro is going to be such a nuisance, and it is an operator that JYNXZI Loyals do kind of rock with just a little bit. So Outlast Black, I like the thought process here on the bans. My question is, though, is it just a little bit too much recency bias? Because you have banned the Blitz, which is what the JYNXZI Loyals played the most last map, but they didn't have access to either the Monty or the Blackbeard. So could kind of leave up those two, will leave up those two operators, and that poses the question of whether or not they actually prefer the Blitz to the Blackbeard or the Monty, or if Outlast Black kind of let that recency bias get to them just a little bit. And they thought, oh, let's ban what they did a lot of last map, not thinking what they couldn't do last map. And just like that, the Blackbeard is being brought into the first round of Chalet.
I at the very least do like that Outlast Black are setting up to just really stop JYNXZI Loyals from going from this top-down take, considering that Eddie is back on the Ram once again, just making sure that he can't go for a very easy take of just sending in those boogies through the mains door, not nearly as easily, but now he can just send those in a little bit safely. But now they're having to go for a complete opposite side take, considering that OUTLAST Black are still sitting over towards that bar side, sitting up towards library as well. So there's a lot of things that JYNXZI Loyals need to clear out if they want to go for this main lobby take quite as safely. But interestingly, that dining hatch is completely soft. JYNXZI Loyals now have a free pathway into the bomb site. They just need to start to work on some of these other portions, like getting rid of that clash, getting rid of that boiler wall player. There's still so many things that JYNXZI Loyals now have to take care of, but they have so much time to do it now.
Yeah, crazy to me that you invest this much towards boiler, and yet you leave that hatch soft and you give up all that control to the attacking side. That puts a lot of pressure on John to make a play on the Jaeger, trying to flank around and kill whoever's playing on that hatch. Because if they start to pressure out that player towards the boiler shield, then things will get very, very rocky. And so John, again, needing to make a play eventually. Not quite just yet, because they still are waiting. But it'll only be a matter of time, I'd imagine, until the Capital bolts come through. And this player towards the shield is forced back into the line of sight of the player on the hatch. That is exactly what happens, and Aiden tacks with a big kill, pressuring these angles so incredibly effectively. There's got to be a play here from John. He starts to creep his way down, but he's going a little bit too slow. They might be into the bomb site by the time he finally makes his play. And not only that, but this is something that Aiden has caught on to. He's now looking out towards Fireplace to see if he can catch John moving up. They're sending a second player upstairs to try and help out Aiden, just in case it needs to happen. And Eddie's going to catch that player running away. It's John going down second. It's another flank in from Braze this time as JYNXZI gets caught inside a wine cellar. It's only the Clash and Braze flanking on Smoke, who can do anything else. This vert has to have been completely forfeited, otherwise Braze is going to be useless. And they have kind of given it up. Everybody into the basement, but it doesn't matter because Center back up through the hatch is going to take down Braze and make it a flawless attack for JYNXZI Loyals.
I mean, it's just so easy for JYNXZI Loyals to go for that exact take, because what really did OUTLAST Black do to deter them from going for that dining side take, opening up that hatch, taking care of the boiler wall player, taking care of that clash in the bomb site? And then just at that point, watching out for any roamers, because they were so solidified in their positions that they know that there's going to be a roamer at some point trying to flank upon them from either the Fireplace side over from bar side or anywhere else that they already have information on. You saw them flipping through so many cams just to make sure that they had eyes on everything. Deimos tried to solidify that they knew the Jaeger was coming in from 45 Hall. At that point, you just need to solidify that you have your positions, you have your strong points, then you could put all the pressure onto OUTLAST Black, because they can't really do anything to stop you. They left the hatch soft for whatever reason. Don't know if that was part of the strat or just something that was kind of missed in the setup initially, but they gave so much control over to JYNXZI Loyals that they had so much ample free time to set up for that play, start to take players out one by one, and single file just make their way into the bomb site, and there's nothing that OUTLAST Black can do to stop it.
For just a moment, the entire wall was gone on my screen. I think,
yeah,
I think we both got to see it. That was kind of threw me off a bit, but yeah, nothing much in the way for OUTLAST Black that time. Got to invest a little bit more in that defensive dining and kitchen itself if you're just going to leave the hatch soft and let them have it. And even still, probably not a great idea to let them have it because of how much it allows you to get in terms of control towards wine cellar. Makes that push a heck of a lot easier. And so 30 seconds into this top floor defense from OUTLAST Black. Relatively similar attacking composition from the JYNXZI Loyals. They bring back the Blackbeard, they bring back a Capital, they bring back a Deimos as well. So a lot of overlap with their operators last time, even though it's a very different site.
Once again, just leaving one roamer to do so much work. Stocky at this point, all the way down in the basement, trying to see if he can maybe go for a flank onto this player of Aiden, just sitting up on that big window. But at this point, Demented just goes down to something, either a grenade or just some stray bullets from that big window.
It was
takes him down. He's in such a weird spot too. So they are finally able to go get him, but now there's a Grim Bee tracking two different players, so they know that they can very safely swing into Solar side and then work their way onto their first pick.
They're looking a little bit less comfortable this map around. Our OUTLAST Black, and an aggressive play attempted by the Aruni, likely soon to get caught Rice not on the rappel actually right now. Aruni gonna make the play,
Wait,
and it's
what?
actually a good kill for Dexy. How was he able to get away with that? He gets away with murder. All of his teammates are dying though, and so he's still a man down. It's gotta be more work from Dexy. Ray's downstairs as well. Now getting tracked down by the Deimos. They're surely gonna hunt him down, and it's been a big round for Dexy, but can he make it an ace? A triple kill for him as he isolates that fight on a hat. But he's so low on HP. And with that next Deimos track up again for Aiden Tax, you'd have to imagine that Dexy isn't going to be too long to live, at least within this round. Might be able to time a headshot swing around really well, but he gets prompted into the swing. Aiden the bait, Eddie the one to close it. And really well coordinated by JYNXZI Loyals to make sure they keep their streak going.
And you almost feel like that round would be a lot more decisive for JYNXZI Loyals if Dexy didn't go absolutely huge in that round, because at that point, they had everything solidified. They had a big window player really solidifying that hallway, making sure that nobody from Outlast Black could really safely play on that closet mirror or towards that bathroom doorway. There's not a whole lot that they could do outside of Dexy just getting some nice shots in, making that at least a tough fight for JYNXZI Loyals at the very end of that round, but they still had such a decisive control in the pacing and the amount of control that they had over Outlast Black in that round, just making sure that they can get so much information from those Deimos tracks, single file their way through the map, trying to take care of that mirror down below, try to take care of Dexy at the very end to make sure that he cannot go for that clutch at the very end. At that point, what more can Dexy really do? He already got away with 3 kills. He arguably should not have gotten in the first place, but he gave his team a chance, but they're not able to help him out in getting any kills in that round.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
Rough start on this map for Outlast Black. I'm happy to see them go down to a first floor site though. Feels like they'll be able to kind of just play a little more default. Past couple rounds, we've had a lot of roamers from Outlast Black, just on loose plays, not really in important positions, and this time, 1 kill for center. Not even 20 seconds in, he's already broken the back of the extension up to library. The Clash comes around the corner to try and do something about it, but she's gotten EMP'd, so the support needs to come through. Aiden Tax with a kill. Clash does manage the helicopter play to get the kill, drops down into 2. They're straight into the site. Rice does get knocked down, though. And Dimensions can try and come for the play as they go for the res on the players tucked by default plant corner. Good finish onto Rice. But they didn't actually end up going for the res. If they had, he would have surely found an opportunity. Main advantage for JYNXZI Loyals, and it looks like they just want to go for the reset. Just play outside. Wait for an opportunity to get through with 2 players already in fireplace. Flashing the Warden, not really going to get much accomplished, but they at the very least can maybe identify that he's upstairs, and he's already so low on HP. And now he's the last one alive. They need to be ready for these players in bar stock. Good timing. Almost kills 2. Aiden Tax barely holding on to life. And now they've got to wait up just a little longer. Demented still the lowest HP player in the server. So if Hat even just shoots him once, it'll be round done. And now Hat doesn't have to do it himself. Now that Aiden's stuck the plant, 2 versus 1 proper. They can both watch angles. They can both try and go for frags. I don't think they're expecting him to be this far forward. But now with those shots onto the drone, they know where he is. Aiden in bar stock, it seems like something that Demented is expecting, but maybe not fully. Drop down to the basement for Hat as Aiden gives up where he is, and the pre-fire swing is not going to do the job. Aiden Tax holds his nerve inside of bar stock and plays it really nicely. JYNXZI Loyals hit the gap and make it 3 in a row.
I mean, Center just a mad lad, just rushing into library, getting that first pick, completely threw Outlast Black off in their entire pacing of the round, because you're not expecting a player to just immediately hop in, get immediate impact in that round the way he did, taking down the big impact player from the round prior, taking care of that library corner player, working his way in, at least stalling enough that JYNXZI Loyals at that point can try to go for slow down play, try to go for that execute. Again, just another moment of Outlast Black relying on one player to do so much in that round, with Demented trying to do everything he can, but unfortunately he's just so low HP, he doesn't have all the information to know where those last 2 players are at. But Outlast Black just need to give somebody some help, because they're leaving players completely isolated in certain key positions that they're not ready for a big rush play like that, overpowered by so many players from JYNXZI Loyals that they're just not ready to respond to any single situation. And we're starting to see the fruits of JYNXZI Loyals on their own map pick.
Attackers' objective is to locate
So after a flawless anti-flawless rotation, 3 sites in a row that Outlast Black gave an effort on and did not get the win on. Not even really particularly close, especially not the last time through this basement site. Well, they're going to give that basement site a go once again. This time investing in the roam once again, with Braze inside a bar stock on that first floor. They've got Dementeds over by blue as well, near that first floor, and John, well, John is dead. DXZI ends up getting the trade, but they're going right at the site again, and they've knocked down DXZI. And so they're maybe going to take an advantage here. Red's going to be hard to find on a DXZI, especially since he's stuck in such an awkward spot. C4 out the doorway could maybe do well, but that wasn't really the place to put it. And now they might be able to find that res now that's taken so long for the fin to happen on a DXZI that I think he's already crawled all the way back to pillar. Good cover from Dementeds, good res from their teammate, but now they've given up that roam other than Niscopos. It's got to be a good play from John, otherwise there's basically no roam game again, and we know how that went last time.
They need to get at least some fight back into this round, as DXZI's already on low HP again, and they're feeling the pressure already. So you have to feel like that John is needing to go for a play, as Demented just gives an over peek at this point of the round and gives a free pick over to JYNXZI Loyals when he does not need to. John at this point needs to go for that play now, as they're scrambling to stop them from entering site right now.
Now, John's actually just back on the site. He isn't even going for the roam play anymore. Does manage a good kill. Gas in a really awkward spot from Braze, but there's a big play from John. We said it had to be John, and look at him making the play he needs to. 2 versus 2, with center still stuck in the middle of his site. It's got to be Eddie to help him out. And if Braze is ready for this play around the corner, only 1 or 2 shots at most will be enough to deal with the Capitao, leaving Eddie in a 1 versus 2 with very low HP on himself, but they're all just stuck in a stalemate. Center waiting for the swing wide from Braze. Braze waiting for any sign of life on this site to possibly swing off that contact. And both of these last 2 attackers just waiting for a play from blue. First shots in a while, fired out by Eddie, letting Braze know that he needs to stay where he is, but the creep through sight allowed to center, and John gets taken down. It's got to be Braze, 1 versus 2. Gas canister still in pocket. Decent placement on that one, but it won't actually hit Eddie. It's got to be a little bit closer. Throws it in pretty much the same spot. Same result. Eddie on the same amount of HP as he was before. Crosses through the smoke a little bit. So basically 1 bullet of HP on either of these last 2 attackers, but center was not at all expected behind this snowmobile. And he couldn't quite angle out from below, but a couple of shots is all he needed to close it. 4-0 lead for JYNXZI Loyals.
And you have just really got to commend JYNXZI Loyals for just hitting Outlast Black where they are the weakest. And that just, for whatever reason, is on the site, which you would least expect out of a defense of just being able to hold on to the bomb site nearly as effectively. They seem over-reliant upon their roam game to do a whole lot for them, but they've not been able to find anything. Either they're not ready to just sit and just wait for them to stall out, let their roamer go for that flank at that point in the round, and they're just not able to give them enough time. John on the Scopos, recognizing the big problem and not able to adapt for a big quick play, is able to do that, but at the cost of the fact that it just comes from a rush on JYNXZI Loyals getting the first pick very early into the round yet again. And at what point does JYNXZI Loyals just have to hit the stop button? Because John comes back with the Scopos, gets a few big picks, but they are able to slow things down yet again, isolate that 1 pick, and separate out that last player in Blue Hall to make sure that they get that plant down safely and force the timer onto him.
Generally great play from JYNXZI Loyal so far this map. Outlast Black looking a lot more lost. I feel like committing a lot more of their time and their presence on the map to these like solo roam plays where 1 or 2 players will try and make a play on a roam and they won't really have much detail, much of a setup. But JYNXZI Loyals are way too good to let that phase them. They can either track those roamers down, or what they've been doing a lot of so far is just kind of going around them, taking the control they need, and then waiting for the roamers to try and make the play on the flanks. And this time, Aiden Tax is going to manage a really early kill again, shutting down DXZI really fast. As the Grimbees are going to spot out Dementeds. Needs to be worried about that threat from the window behind him, and Aiden gets a second one. Another kill for the attack. They're into the middle of the site. Center with a big kill and a Dementeds. The plant's going down. Braze from West Main has got to do something. Because otherwise, it's going to be a flawless round. His Hadit's taken down his only remaining teammate in John. Braze will show his face. He will get a kill for it, but that's all that he'll find. 5-0 for JYNXZI Loyals. The statement of a lifetime. It really just seems like Cafe was not their map.
And at what point do you just think that Outlast Black need to call a timeout, just get some sort of things under control, because it is falling apart on Chalet. No idea what is going on at this point on their side, because the site presence is just not there. We have seen it time and time again the last 3 rounds that JYNXZI Loyals are just hitting the go button. They're finding the weak point, setting aid attacks on the Nook to just find some of those weak points, get those players out of the way on the site itself, and then they just go for a very easy execute onto the bomb site when, again, this should be a site that you can easily hold from up above, at least stop a little bit of that bleeding, because kitchen dining is a little susceptible for those fast, quick takes directly onto the bomb site. But you can make up for that from flooring those from up above. But all we're seeing is just Outlast Black just continuously not understanding what is going on in these rounds. Either they don't have the information, or just JYNXZI Loyals are finding every single gap in their defense every single time due to some really great drones in the prep phase.
Really big fan of the line Eddie dropped in chat. I don't know why. That one just got me. I don't know if they let me repeat it on stream either, so I won't take that risk.
I really doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it. Either way, spawn peak. Rice shut down really early. Frost getting the early kill. And that is a big frag for Stocky to find. Stocky's raging. Well, he's not the one raging out of that engagement, because Rice, in spite of all the success his team has had, still hasn't killed anybody and just got spawn peaked. So he's that one teammate who was bearing the cross for everybody else to have their great game, but he was the one who is going 0-4, is going through the ringer. And fortunately, their team will come out the other side much better off, and it'll especially be better if those things keep happening. That was a very ambitious play, and just like that, Stocky got team their first man advantage in quite some time, and then gave it away right after.
Well, Demented is there to quickly follow it up, as Center is the next one to die, but again, the player that gets a kill is immediately felled soon after by JYNXZI Loyals, so still a 3v3, and JYNXZI Loyals aren't in a bad position. They have some sort of pressure on the big window and over towards bathroom, and Aiden finds another one onto Dexy, who just overexposed himself over towards that piano office side. Now they have the information onto that solar stairs player. They just need to clear him out, need to start to group up onto that last player who is just all isolated at this point.
And let's listen into their comms as they try to clear out this player on the staircase. Get it done. Let's see how they go about this 3v1.
Piano.
Alright, I'm gonna plan.
Eddie, my bad. Eddie, my bad. Should it?
It's fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Just bait me.
Track him.
He's cannon door. In office, right side office.
In office, I'm running at him.
Track him.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I had it's right there.
I mean, I would say that's pretty nonchalant from JYNXZI Loyals at that point. They just do not seem phased. It's just like, all right, yeah, track him. All right, he's dead. Okay, whatever. Like, they're just not even having to sweat. It's just whatever at this point. The wins mean nothing on Chalet. They're ready for map 3 of Bank. They're just so done with this, because they're just going through these takes so quickly. After just getting spawn peaked, they're still able to slow the round down, get those 2 picks back. Granted, they're aided by the fact that Stocky just runs out, tries to overexpose himself, gets a free pick for JYNXZI Loyals, and at that point, they can still set themselves up for that execute in the late round after getting those kills back, isolate that player over towards Solar Stairs, thanks to just some really good Deimos tracks as well, just finding that information onto those last couple of players. Outlast Black just not looking like themselves from Cafe on map number 2 of Chalet. They just need to find some sort of fight back on the attack if they want to have any sort of chance to just try to make this remotely a close fight.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do it.
You don't think so?
Hate to not believe, but 6 rounds in a row with JYNXZI Loyals looking in this form. Nobody on Outlast Black is positive. Everybody's got a kill at least. They're all doing better than Rice so far.
That's insane.
Which is just like tough.
I mean, hey, listen, he's
kill yet. W support player, man. W support player. That's Rice is that that one player every stack needs, every team needs, that is willing to get 0 kills if it means that the other team gets 0 rounds. And you know what? I love it. I'm here for it.
You know what? We're here for you, Rice. We see you. We got you, buddy. We're shouting you out. But I mean,
I don't
honestly,
know if he
what
wants
else
us
has he
together.
really been needing to do? I mean, everybody else has been doing the work. Aiden's just running into bottom sites, just getting every single frag. He's 12-3 at this point, so clearly information's going very well for JYNXZI Loyals. See if they can replicate some of that same success on the defense as Grimby starts to go out over towards that bathroom side. Do at least start to pressure somebody out, but Center finds the first one to Dexy, and Hat at least finds another before getting traded back out. But still, the man advantage in favor of JYNXZI Loyals at this point. It's not even barely a minute in.
Outlast Black now scrambling to pick up the pieces. Grim info, courtesy of that last stash of bees, but not really much to do off of it. Not much to be done with the red ping, especially when you're on the other side of a rappel. That is all of his bees gone, and that's him gone. Throws his last come-on hive and then runs to a different spot on the map. Probably to just try and capitalize on some of this information, some of these pings from the bottom side near Trophy. Bray's trying to jump into West Main, excuse me. But he'll get shut down in the process. 2 versus 4 for Stocky and Dementeds. Oh, 1 versus 4 for Dementeds. Stocky just got murked. And it is now pretty much over. Team kill for Center. Another kill for Dementeds. Case likely not too easy to recover out of this position. Shotgun around the corner on the right side. Gonna make things tough, especially with Eddie to possibly swing off that contact, and especially now that Dementeds has given up where he is, but they're actually not playing this as close as I had maybe thought. Rice very far out with the shotty, and Eddie just kind of jiggle peeking it every now and again. Tag onto him, as he kind of wants to make his way towards the kitchen. Shots to the wall onto Dementeds, but they're not quite gonna land. He's ready for Eddie to be where he is, but he's not at all ready for Rice, or even if he was, just wasn't enough. They dropped their first map of the season, and then they don't drop a single round on the next one, sending us to bank, while also sending a message that Cafe is not our map, but don't you dare think you've got the best of 3.
And at the very least, Rice got a kill at the very end of that map, so at least he's got something on the board moving on to that, because it was a dominant showcase by JYNXZI Loyals, absolutely bouncing back hard after their loss on Cafe, showing a little bit more of what we saw against the Unks the other day, just making sure that they showed that they can be a dominant team that is very scary within this division. And Happy, I'm really not sure how well Outlast Black is going to do on Bank. They have played it before in the qualifier, but with how well that JYNXZI Loyals played on this map, I'm really scared about how much of a fight they're going to be putting up.
Yeah, it's a big question going into that last map, especially with JYNXZI Loyals looking this hot. We're going to need a little bit of extra time to make sure that Outlast Black fully go over what went wrong. Maybe even just dip out, get into a training grounds or something, because it seems like something is missing. Maybe it's the aim. Maybe Chalet just wasn't their best map at the pool, and JYNXZI Loyals look confident on it. Either way, something missing. We'll have to wait and see if Outlast Black can get it back in time for map number 3. But for now, JYNXZI Loyals looking confident. Come back on the other end of this break, though, to see if they can close it out or if Outlast Black will make a big comeback from not a single round on Chalet. Well, last map started and then it ended, and Outlast Black over the course of that time didn't really do an awful lot too well. They had some close opportunities, they had some plays that felt cool, but in general, it was a JYNXZI Loyals map through and through. Every single round going to JYNXZI Loyals. An Outlast map, Outlast Black, with a lot of questions to answer coming into this next map. And coming out of Chalet, it's Bank coming up next, which, if you think about it, like, stylistically, doesn't really feel like it's closer to Cafe than it is to Chalet. It feels a lot closer to Chalet in terms of big, open space. Your roamers have got to find success. And the last part specifically is something that we saw Outlast Black really struggle with on Chalet.
Well, I mean, and just kind of building off of that point, it's another map that there's a big emphasis on roaming. From for any single bomb site you can name them, there's still at least some semblance of a roam game, aside from like maybe CEO top 4, but even then sometimes you
Yeah.
do see some teams kind of go for that every now and then. So JYNXZI Loyals were able to punish a big roam game from Outlast Black almost every single time on their defense. Every single attempt was just a quick direct to take onto the bomb site, Aiden Tax or somebody else following up with a very quick kill, getting everybody from Outlast Black completely dismantled. There's nobody else that's really able to stop them other than the roamer finally coming back, maybe getting a kill or two. So Bank is definitely going to have to be a very big adjustment from them in terms of their roam game potential, because they really need to step that up and make sure that the direct site hits are not going to be nearly as effective from JYNXZI Loyals this time around.
Well, it's going to be tough to guarantee, but they'll have to do what they can. Defense start here as well for Outlast Black, so we will very quickly get answers to our questions coming in. Also, fun fact, Rice got the last kill to close out that last map, meaning he did not end the map without a kill. So, every dog has his day, every support player gets his play, and he's the one who closed it out, finally getting on the board. So, JYNXZI Loyals making sure everybody eats. Even if it's really just a breadstick, it's still better than a donut, right? As Outlast Black come into the defensive side on Bank. Like I said, we'll get answers to our questions very quick as to whether or not they have what it takes to defend Bank, given that they couldn't defend Chalet at all, as they didn't win a single defense round, and they're not going to have to deal with the Dokkaebi and the Montaigne this time around, as they ban out that Monty. Dokkaebi the one taken off the board by the JYNXZI Loyals. It seems like that blitz wasn't as influential as they had thought it was on Cafe.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the Blackbeard was a little bit more effective. I don't think we've seen
Yeah.
JYNXZI Loyals go for a single Monty play. So again, it feels like Outlast Black have very direct kind of bans they want to go for on very specific maps, and this one just happens to be a Monty Kaid kind of day. So I'm wondering if it's just less of a target ban situation or more of just what Outlast Black are not comfortable with in either their scrims and practices or something like that, or previous game days. Regardless of that fact, this is still much more of a normal ban phase from them than what we saw previously. This is a bit more expected at this point. So right now, again, the question goes back to, can they stop some more of these direct takes, because they're not bringing the Mira this time around, but they are bringing a Tubarão, Goyo, Fenrir combination with Smoke in pocket as well for later portions of the round, depending on where he's sitting. Either he's sitting directly on site, trying to deny a post-plant situation, or sitting over towards Blue Stairs, trying to deny a server-side take from JYNXZI Loyals. But again, so many questions that we just need to see from Chalet because of the fact that they didn't win a single defensive round happy, and I'm just worried a bit about how much momentum JYNXZI Loyals has going into map number 3.
Well, certainly taken a lot of time to get into, or maybe not a lot of time. I think the transition between this map was faster than the transition between maps 1 and 2. But hopefully that was enough time for the reset for Outlast Black. Momentum at the end of the day, it does kind of feel like a little bit of a buzzword that we like to say on the cast. When you're playing, you know, it will come into effect. You'll start to maybe feel like you'll lose your confidence. You forget what it feels like to get a kill or what it feels like to win a round. May feel like you need to do everything yourself, and that's never going to help in terms of a team environment. As JYNXZI Loyals droning Aiden in really early. Already, he's shown a lot of face on the second floor. Won't find anybody there, because there's nobody there on the defensive side. One player is going to show face towards the elevators. That's JYNXZI. sat in that spot for now. Likely soon to fall off once he starts to get pressured, but so far, it's good to see Outlast Black playing off a little bit of structure, playing off of each other and trying to calm things out rather than leaving one or two roamers to make huge solo plays. This time they've got good crossfire set up, something that it felt like was missing at points on Chalet.
And at the very least, they're still holding on to the open area just a little bit longer, like you said, holding on to those crossfires, but they have allowed Center to actually sneak down those marble stairs with shotgun on the ground, mind you, so this is definitely an oddity. He's definitely going to be ready for a very close engagement as soon as he starts to make that play down those stairs. Just waiting for that go button at this point as everybody else is starting to open up more of these hatches. They're already starting to pop some of these Goyo canisters, Hat getting some of these early canisters out of the way so that way once they finally get into server, start to open up that wall to go for that default plant, they're ready to go for it and not have to start to wait around for that flames to go out.
Now they're taking their time. Taking their time for sure, but they force the roam back gradually, but they get it done eventually. I'm sure the roam happy with that as well as Outlast Black. Everybody 5-man up on the site. Oh, I spoke too soon. Dexy's been down from range by Aiden. He's going to get the fin as well, so Pistol locks it out. Dexy just prone in the wrong spot, and they're going to start to go for the plant now. There needs to be some denial here. Smoke canisters, C4s, anything. It's too late, and it's not even in the right spot. The plant is down, and the JYNXZI Loyals are going to take an advantage into a post plant. Hat only going to make it even better with 3. And it's a lonely John getting ran down by a shotgun on the SGCQB on the attacking side. Made an appearance. It looks like the JYNXZI Loyals are confident. That's what that tells me.
I mean, I mentioned it earlier. He was ready for that very close engagement just whenever that opportunity arose. But just going back to that previous round is just, unfortunately, once again, Outlast Black don't really do much to really stall out that direct take into servers. They allowed JYNXZI Loyals to get so much ample control, opening up every single hatch. So they were very adaptable in terms of what kind of take they were able to go for. And it opted that they just went for the most standard direct take onto servers, opening up that wall, taking care of the Goyo canisters in the pathway in the direct default plant spot. Hat was able to take care of every single one in the way, and unfortunately, they just missed out on their smoke grenade from Demented, just missing the worst spots possible, threw it a little bit too deep, and even at that point, he threw it a little bit too late as well. They're just able to get that post plant down very easily, and at that point, Hat just drops down that red hatch, gets 3 out of the way before he's finally traded out, and there's only one player left alive from Outlast Black who just cannot seem to do anything at this point because JYNXZI Loyals just look so confident again.
And that is not a good sign for the Outlast Black fans among the audience. To see JYNXZI Loyals looking that confident, scary sight, given how the last map went. Tough start for them so far, but opportunities to come back. They roam all the way up to that second floor to defend the first floor bomb site as they come into round number 2, but already fast progress from JYNXZI Loyals as Hat is into ATMs. Looking to threaten anybody towards elevator hall or maybe behind the teller's desk. Either way, good fast progress from JYNXZI Loyals. Again, a further indicator that they are feeling confident.
Just need to see what is the first step for JYNXZI Loyals because Hat, like you said, ready to spring onto this Teller's player, is able to spot out Stocky at this point in the middle of the Teller's office, but does get spotted onto the drone, is able to shoot it, so just waiting for the next opportunity. Candela goes over towards Janitor, flashes out his own teammate, and that gives him a perfect opportunity to get a C4 onto the Blackbeard. That's Center out of the way, and a big scary operator that Outlast Black no longer have to deal with, but there's still all this pressure outside of Janitor, but they're able to find at least one more before Eddie finally gets the first kill for his team.
Almost responds with 2, bringing the man advantage back himself. Damage dealt to Rage Monster, but not enough to get the kill, but he eventually finds it. Hat with another one! Not only do they bring the man advantage back, they get the advantage themselves! And it's 2 kills in a row in such dramatic fashion from the JYNXZI Loyals. Outlast Black now lunging for an opportunity to get back into this round, but I'd imagine that John gonna get caught out here by Hat. Still sat towards ATMs. It looks like John wants to make the play towards Tellers. He's already sat behind the tellers themselves. Not stuck in the office anymore. Hat spots him out. If John goes for this peek up, Hat will quickly behead him, and that is exactly what happens. Demented's now 1 versus 3, and he doesn't even have the C4 anymore. So it's not looking good for him. Stuck in the cut, and JYNXZI Loyals dotting all of their I's, crossing all of their T's, and droning every single corner to make sure they know what's coming. Because he shoots, they have an idea as to where he is. Stuck in that corner by Kansan. Flash is going in. That's the last Yin Candela. Drop facilitated off the back of that. Damage dealt to Rice. And Demented's ready for the play on his left. They're fully trying to deal with him, but the plant is going down. So if he can find this one onto Eddie before the plant is down, that could maybe work out. But Rice has stuck it, and so now both guns ready to go. Trained on this small office door, and Rice off to a much better start than he ended on last map. And so too with the JYNXZI Loyals. Not much better than last map. Hard to get better than the 7-0. They're on pace for the same thing after 2.
And at least it was a much better fight on that top floor from Outlast Black, but once again, just so many weak points present themselves for JYNXZI Loyals to capitalize on. There's only one player really holding on to Janitor. There's kind of a loose protection back over towards meeting site, back over towards President's office. And that's really it. Nobody else is there for Outlast Black to really help get those trades in, get those crossfires established. And once again, it's down to single individual players having to go for heroic plays to try to get them at least closer into these rounds, because JYNXZI Loyals are just on top in terms of team play. They're getting all this information onto every single player. They know where one player is isolated over towards Tellers, over towards Janitor, and then they can just easily work the problem of just, okay, if we all push this one guy as a team, first being the Janitor player, we can then move on to CEO, move on to Janitor, or sorry, meeting, and then so on and so forth, and finally get that plant down in the bomb site. And it just makes it so easy for them to just easily win these rounds out, even if they get a little bit closer, thanks to just some player from Outlast Black getting at least a few kills at the very end.
The JYNXZI Loyals off to a good start again on Bank. That is 9 rounds in a row for them. Especially strange given that on map number 1, they looked like they really just weren't up to the task. It just felt like Cafe was all Outlast all day. Really struggling on some of these bigger maps, needing to go for some roam games. And really, I think just falling apart on the site itself. Because of all that space, JYNXZI Loyals feeling confident to maybe go for some direct takes on Chalet, and so far this map, they've just been making plays faster than Outlast Black can really anticipate it. Up to the 2nd floor for Outlast Black now, as the Ace Chargers will start to open up some of these hard walls. And these players on site a little bit more scared than they were before. But Outlast Black playing very passive, as they are seemingly scared of taking fights against these JYNXZI Loyals attackers.
At the very least, a little bit of a slower take at this point from JYNXZI Loyals, just trying to establish some sort of pressure. It is interesting, though, that John is over towards the open area as the first pick goes for Rice onto Saki at this point, able to open up that wall. And that's just, once again, having to rely upon one roamer downstairs just does not seem a good opportunity, as now Stock's wall is completely open. Nobody's really pressuring over towards that side. Now we're leaving Brazy a little bit exposed inside of Janitor, as there's no real other player to kind of capitalize, and they're going to go right at him happy.
Yeah, the blitz going straight in, ready to try and deal with the castle. Braze shut down fast. Aiden got a kill in that exact same moment, so now it's a 3-player advantage. The roam game does come through for 1, needs to get a 2nd, and he does just that. This could possibly make it possible, but that roam play from Hat, or that play underneath from Hat, he's on the attack, he's not roaming. Basically roaming around the map, ends up finding a kill, walking back up Marble, but it's now a triple for John. Shut down, though, from this side by Had, as he goes back out to the balcony and gets ready to close it out, making it look easy. It's really just 3 kills for John, but impactless frags that can't make it around for Outlast Black.
And again, how many more times can we say that JYNXZI Loyals find a weak point, either find an opening kill, and then just immediately dismantle every other position that Outlast Black does still have under their control? They open up onto the player of Stocky with the kill from Rice, and then they open up that stock wall, force that player back, and then they send the blitz of Eddie right at that Janitor player. There's no other support because they've smoked off the angle, running in from square. There's not much else that Outlast Black can do other than just hope that they get a few opportunities to maybe get a free pick because nobody's watching out on that flank. But at that point, John doesn't have a time to just go for those plays. He's way too late at that point that everybody else on the bomb site is already dead. He's way too late coming up from square, and there's nobody else in his path other than just anybody who's watching out for those flanks, making sure that he's not able to get those free opportunities to try to go for that clutch, because JYNXZI Loyals have been shutting down every single one of those opportunities.
Attackers are moving to defuse the bomb.
Shut down before they can even get going. One thing that worked about that last round was that the Luke's Roam was able to get you a couple of kills. A little bit too late to really have a massive impact outside of just trading some things out and keeping it close, but not really close enough to really ever make it look like JYNXZI Loyals were losing track. So why not go for a similar kind of roam? This time around they want to meet and attack as it makes it into the second floor, but actually they're trying to go direct again. Center, as soon as he gets out of dirt tunnel, is going to get pummeled. And that's the blitz drop in the case, I think, but Eddie has at least picked back up if he had even let it onto the ground in the first place. As a big trade of damage between Hat and John, or Hat and Stocky, is going to result in both of them at pretty much 1 HP. And nobody going down just yet, and a weird pause in this defense, in this attack, as Braze comes through for a dynamic frag onto Hat. That's his second kill of the round, and Outlast Black seem good to get their first round of the last 10. John only going to make it even more likely now that he shut down Aiden Tax. Rice trying to sneak down to that basement site itself, but they've got him on cam, so they're not going to let that happen. And everyone has made their way down to the basement just to make sure that they can hold on to this round.
Once again, JYNXZI Loyals just trying to go for a very fast play directly onto the site. Doesn't work out in their favor this time around. Outlast Black have recognized that this is exactly what they want to go for, so they stack everybody back on the bomb site, ready for that exact kind of play. Brazy gets at least a first kill onto it. And now there's just nothing really left for JYNXZI Loyals at this point to try to go for much of anything. Start to open up some of these hatches, at least give themselves some opportunities, but they don't have the other backup that they had, like Aiden Tax getting rid of some of these Goyo canisters in the bomb site or getting rid of some of these bulletproof cameras. So there's still so much work that they have to even remotely get onto the bomb site. And that mirror window might make it impossible for Eddie to actually get in, go for this plant. We'll have to see after this next pop. I think he might actually have enough to actually go for this. So thankfully he is able to get in. But once again, those Goyo canisters are going to be a big problem for him.
All opened. Plant possible has stuck to stick it now. Goyo can though. Like you had foresaw, making it really tough. Gas canisters still in pocket as well for Dementeds, and by the time this fire is gone, he'll have more than enough gas to delay the 20 seconds he needs to if the plant is going down in a default spot. And I said by the time that fire is gone, without realizing there's another fire. So not only does he have the gas to work with, but there's fire in the way, and it is going to be a really tough attack for Eddie. He gets caught in the gas, caught in the fire. There's no way he's making it out. Rice barely gets on the board for his team, so it's not flawless for Outlast Black. But my goodness, is it ever a convincing response from them. And then they got ours. They got theirs, just like Stocky said in the chat.
Well, after a 10-round skid, Outlast Black are at least able to stop the bleeding at least a little bit, but these last few rounds outside of that have not been very convincing. This first round win that they've got is the most convincing that we have seen Outlast Black look since Cafe when they won that map 7-3. And this at least gives them at least a little bit of life, a little bit more of that confidence that they can stop some more of these aggressive plays from JYNXZI Loyals, because let's be perfectly honest, center running in through server, getting immediately shut down does not help their chances. And then immediately starting around, getting rid of that garage player as well, establishing none of that cutoff for JYNXZI Loyals to be able to use later on, especially when they're trying to at least make some sort of comeback, try to get into server, try to go for that plant on the default position. There's not a whole lot left, especially since they didn't take care of the utility on site, because Aiden Tax has already died so early in the round he was not able to get those Twitch drones in, get some of the rid of those utility that Outlast Black was relying upon, and they finally get their first round win in after for a while.
Attackers are moving to defuse a bomb.
Long time coming to get that round on the board. It feels like Outlast Black has been playing forever without really managing to get something. And fortunately for us, once they finally win, it is very obvious that they're going to win, and it's not even really that interesting. It feels like we've had a lot of washes of rounds tonight that have felt like you really know what's going to happen. On paper, this is a lot closer than the last series I got to cast, which ironically was also the JYNXZI Loyals. But round by round, it felt like the rounds themselves could have gone either way more often, more hero plays, more exciting stuff. This time around, it's just kind of Outlast Black looking great on Cafe, and JYNXZI Loyals looking outstanding otherwise. As if you ignore Cafe, they still have only really dropped one map all series. So I think that's just a sign that you might need a new auto ban, boys. Which, you know, good knowledge to gain early on. Do give up a point for that, as they would have gotten 4 for a 2-0 win instead of 3, but either way, not a massive difference. They still, if they can manage the win on Bank, which they look pretty solid to do, will be pretty solidly on top of the group. Which, you know, tied with Karn and Co., so that's just going to make that a very exciting series to come later in the season.
Certainly will, and I'm surprised by the lack of extension over towards Archives, but it doesn't even seem to matter as JYNXZI gets the first kill onto Aiden Tax, as they're now starting to fortify up this position on that break room wall, as just the mirror window or zombie barriers from Braze is just coming out to make sure that he can sit in that corner a little bit more effectively, but they are surely going to know that he's somewhere nearby, just waiting for an opportunity to swing out. But at this point, Outlast Black in the man advantage, making sure that they can hold on to this position, as JYNXZI Loyals looks like they want to go direct onto break room, but they're just struggling to find that first pick onto either one of these players just sitting in a power position.
Rice with a good kill. That's going to make things a little better for JYNXZI Loyals, but only for a moment, because it's traded out immediately by Stocky. Center looking for that response onto the players stuck behind the bomb chassis, but very content to sit behind it, as I believe that's Braze who's now going to need to move out of the way. No, it was Rage Monster all the way back, so it's Stocky to go down, but the trade is there from Braze, who now is going to be the prone one inside a staff room. There's got to be one, and Stocky just died, so it looks like Braze will take up the mantle of going prone in the corner of the site. They kill him, though. There could be an opening here for the JYNXZI Loyals. They're going to try and run in, but the Sen's wall cut off the line of sight from Eddie, and Center making his way through will only be able to get a knockdown before getting shut down by Dementeds. Clean shots. A headshot to make it a second in a row for Outlast Black. Huge streak for the boys.
And just looked like in that round, JYNXZI Loyals were really struggling to clear out a lot of those power positions that Outlast Black had solidified themselves into, thanks in large part to those zombie barriers just immediately going onto that break room wall, making sure that even though those openings were created for JYNXZI Loyals to really utilize later in that round, they were still not able to effectively clear them out because of the fact there's still barriers watching out for that bomb position, watching out for himself over and towards the corner after that wall got open, and then everybody else deeper into open area just has to sit behind their hard cover, make sure they don't overexpose themselves, and just really make sure that nobody else can run in, get any more kills, open up that space to allow themselves to go for that execute. JYNXZI Loyals seemed like they had enough space to go for it. There weren't really a whole lot of contention for the areas that they did take, but they didn't really do anything to clear out those positions, either because of lack of utility or just not enough awareness of where exactly they were to really go for those clears.
Well, E1D popped really early on. I guess just to try and get a general idea of where the attack is, I guess. I don't know, maybe Fat fingered it or something. Either way. I always love when you see the E1Ds like that, because it's like, it doesn't really feel like you're getting an awful lot out of it, which is like, you know, maybe anti-spawn peak. If you think you only really need 2, I guess you're getting enough out of it, so might as well. 30 seconds in already, though, in this attack at the second floor, starting off pretty slow from the JYNXZI Loyals. It's Outlast Black on the verge of maybe going for a flawless site rotation after losing all of the first 3 rounds, but here comes alert from Eddie, ready to just try and walk straight up on the defense, and Braze completely caught off guard. It's Eddie into the middle of his site, and now trying to go for a little bit more. Slows the pace down just a bit to maybe try and catch up to some of his or let his teammates catch up to him, but never mind. He doesn't care at all if his teammates are millions of miles out. He wants all the kills for himself. Eventually shut down by Stocky, but it's not going to be not going to get much easier from this point on. Even though Stocky gets a second, you now need to contend with the players on the rappels. There are 2 of those, and then Rice over in square. This will be a tough retake, especially if Rice starts to show his face, which he still hasn't. So they're not even going to realize it. Rice finally shows, and he ends up getting a really big kill. Good trade back from John, but it's Aiden to close the round, and JYNXZI Loyals end the skid and lock things out at a 2-4 half.
And once again, just comes off the back of Eddie just walking in towards Janitor Hall. No awareness from Outlast Black to solidify that he's just walking right up on them. Not a single proximity alarm, not a single barbed wire, just him walking up free as can be. And he's able to get away with murder as he finds 2 picks before he's finally taken care of. And that just once again takes care of the entire defensive setup on the site from Outlast Black. That opens up so much space for then JYNXZI Loyals to find the next pick to swing on in, get that plant down, and then just wait on the windows for anybody else to start to finally push up. 1 player over towards square just to make sure that nobody else pushes in from that banana stem area or towards that meeting side. There's just nothing else that Outlast Black can do in that round other than just try to go for hero plays once again, because they just let JYNXZI Loyals once again, after finally figuring out what they've been doing this entire time, just go for a direct sight hit thanks to one guy just getting a freest pick of his life.
10 seconds left before insertion. 5 seconds left before insertion.
It definitely made things easier,
Moving to defuse a bomb.
given that way into the JYNXZI Loyals. That's a
Attackers drop the diffuser.
good start. Get that momentum going back as you get back on that defensive side. Still feels like they're in the driver's seat for sure, even though Outlast have won 2 of the last 3. JYNXZI Loyals at a good advantage and have generally looked a little bit better across the series as a whole, and now that defensive side, feel like you favor them just a little bit more. They go to the basement first with the Fenrir to try and enable a couple of these roamers. Very similar setup to what Outlast Black did, so I'd imagine that means Outlast Black gonna know how to deal with it. They've already set one up on that printer window, playing those cutoff angles that have complimented them on playing back on Cafe, seemingly bringing them back for the bank. Roam clears, but yet to really find too much action to start this round.
And they're just looking a little spread out at this point across that top floor. Just a little bit of information over towards open area. Just trying to see if they can double up on somebody, but losing a lot of that early information on areas that they already know that either a player is at or is just completely clear and nobody's there from JYNXZI Loyal. So finally opening up that hatch at the minute 50 mark. Still taking their sweet time. Just feels like they're maybe wasting a little bit too much of it. Now at this point, Stocky needs to see if he can get in, start to disrupt this player in open area, but Hat fights the first one onto Dexy, and he's able to back away just a little bit towards that elevator hall.
And a great kill for JYNXZI Loyals to find, especially at that time as well, because that's just about when you'd want them to fall off the roam, and they've done just that. Really well timed. And with just over half the round already gone, Outlast Black now needs to start to pressure onto the side itself, figure out what kind of execute they want to go for. And in all that time, you've also got to try and find a kill or 2 back, because you are not really at the upper hand. You're not really at the advantage in terms of the man count. So it's not looking great for Outlast Black, and it doesn't look like it's going to get too much better if JYNXZI Loyals continue to play behind this util. And JYNXZI Loyals, aggressive as they can be sometimes, a smart team, I can't imagine they're going to make too many crazy mistakes in the next 30 seconds to allow Outlast Black into the site.
I mean, I don't see many opportunities. Smoke grenades do go out, so they might plant behind Stocky at this point. But C4 actually takes care of by Hat. So now all of a sudden, they do back off a little bit, but they find a very pivotal pick at this point onto Hat.
Yeah, Hat's C4, I'm pretty sure, was the one that is right there now. So they were about to get completely massacred unless the shield blocked that much, which I don't think it was going to do. But even still, as they walk in, they're still getting massacred. John trying to go in and make the play. Knocks down one. Can't get more than that. Shut down by Eddie. And it's a clean close to the round for JYNXZI Loyals. They're up 5-2 now. Really starting to run away with this.
Bit of chaotic end to that round, as looked like Outlast Black might have found a way to get back into it, but just a nice delay tactics from that smoke bait to just really stop that plant from going down, because they recognize that once that smoke goes out to deny line of sight from that mirror window in Red Hall, that plant is going to be going down. 9 times out of 10, it's going to happen. So they send out the C4 from Hat. A grenade unfortunately takes them out. But they're very quick to respond with a smoke of their own. Delaying that little bit of time gives them that space to just recognize and reset where the rest of Outlast Black are. Then they can just start to do a little bit of cleanup, find the player with the diffuser all the way back in server as the Blitz now having to push even deeper into the bomb site, recognizing that default plant maybe not exactly going to go their way, so they need to go a bit deeper. But that unfortunately is going right into the hands of JYNXZI Loyals, who have already set up a lot of those crossfires earlier.
5 seconds to go.
Now they get to go up to the second floor on the side of JYNXZI Loyals, barricading all those Trump doors, front desk doors, banana doors. I like to call that spot banana. It looks like a banana.
It does
Inspired
look
by
like
the
a banana.
Counter-Strike
Pretty
call-out.
sure it is a
It really
banana.
does. Yeah, I think that's the normal call out for it, but I don't know if that's like 100%. And I don't call it out enough, so it is what it is. Back when I started playing with my friends, we used to call the room inside Peel because we didn't realize it was called front desk, and that felt too vague. And I had never heard anybody call it Trump yet. So because the other spot was called banana, we just called the other one Peel. Anyways, 30 seconds in round number 8, and JYNXZI Loyals really not having to be challenged too much yet. They've already shot a couple of drones. That is now 5 drones dead on the Outlast Black side. That is a really poor drone management early on. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see that matter later on in the round.
They do, at the very least, do a lot of damage to Rice early in this round, as he's already started to fall back a little bit towards that hallway. Maybe still sitting outside of stock, but just trying to establish a little bit of pressure, but get himself back to safety at this point. But they do eventually lose that opening pick from Stocky getting the first pick onto Hat. That's just unfortunately going to go away from JYNXZI Loyals as they lose a little bit of that control. Now at this point, it looks like there's someone trying to get a little bit more aggressive onto these CEO windows. Is he actually going to go for this hop out here in just a couple of seconds, or is he just going to sit here and just wait for somebody to get closer? I can't really tell at this point.
Hop out would be good, but you have to imagine it's going to get traded out. Actually, no, there's only one player out there, so if they don't have Claymores down yet, which there are 4 Claymores down on the ground. Actually, no, there are 2 players on that side of the map. Didn't want to shoot a gun. So well thought out by Eddie. He shot a little bit, but they still don't seem to recognize that he's here. And as the cat bolts go out, he's going to make his play. Eddie goes outside, and he doesn't get the second kill. Does let his second one into the building, and Braze will get his kill with the Claymore. That's another frag for Outlast Black, as it's John to step in and take down Rice. C4 popped, no avail for center. He's about to run into a grenade to try and get a kill towards vending machines, and it works out 2 versus 2, with center now retaking some space outside. And now the big problem is, where on earth did the case end up? It's not under the control of the attackers at the moment. And they've got to try and make a play back for it. A good thing they've taken down center already. Swing back onto Aiden Tax. Damage dealt to Braze. Aiden's so low now, though. And he's stuck behind Akiba. Needs to make the play, but he can't get it done. It is John to shut it down. And it is really well timed that Outlast Black got back on the board. And Stocky letting them know that this is not their last that they plan on getting.
I mean, it was nearly a great play by Eddie, just getting that first pick onto the Capital, hopping out that window, following up, giving the call out that the striker is actually rappelling into the building. But at that point, JYNXZI Loyals have already lost so many bodies over towards that stock side that they just need to get aggressive onto somebody. They're feeling the pressure by a janitor player pushing up, by a stock player as well pushing up as well on top of that. So JYNXZI Loyals aren't, unfortunately, not able to capitalize on that. Give Outlast Black that space to move in towards the bomb site. Don't have the case, so they have to go for those kills at the very end. But JYNXZI Loyals do not have the space. They're stuck in the hallway with all the doorways and angles going against them because their own utilities being used against them by Outlast Black. So at that point, all he can really do is move into stock, try to see if he can play around that Kiba barrier, but at that point in the round, JYNXZI Loyals just did not have enough control. They tried to put up a good fight, they made it close for Outlast Black, but at the very end, they just did not have the resources they needed to still come out with on top.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
Well, 10 seconds in and already Outlast Black are shooting open some barricades as they look to make their way towards the objective. Seems to be on that first floor this time around. Open area, as JYNXZI Loyals don't like what happened on that second floor, and you can't blame him this time. Aiden Tax, there are no claymores to stop the run out now. And he's looking for more onto a third, wants to jump into the sewers, and he will barely get in. Hops his way back inside. He'll run back down through the server, and not a soul nearby to stop him. That is 2 free kills for JYNXZI Loyals. Maybe even a third. Actually looking for something. He'll end up getting a trade back. Still, though, man advantage, JYNXZI Loyals.
Not
Raise with
anymore.
more
As
kills. They just don't want you to
finds-
speak.
They just don't want me to speak at all. This just all Outlast Black just getting the kills at perfect opportunities as they nearly find a third in the round, dealing a ton of damage to center. Going to be permanently on 1 HP unless he somehow gets down and picked up. But I really doubt that's going to happen. But after a very good hop out from Aiden Tax, it's just all going away from JYNXZI Loyals at this point. They're getting a little over aggressive, exposing themselves even. But they're at, now at this point, slow point of the round, trying to see if they can get something reestablished, get some things to really slow down Outlast Black, because this is a very fast-paced round. So now, all of a sudden, drones going out, getting some more of that information, and then the JYNXZI Loyals just hopping on those cameras, just spotting out anything at this point to give their teammates the best opportunity to still win this round out.
Yeah, great responses from Outlast Black to trade things out after the run out, now giving them a lot of control and pretty safely assuming the rest of the attack is on the site, and they do just that. Rice will get one with his C4, knocked down right afterwards though. Not sure if they can find the res onto that, and they definitely can't as JYNXZI gets the finish. They're into the site. They're into a spot where they could plant, but I don't think they're going to be comfortable doing that just yet. Center still has 3 gas babes in pocket. He'll need to be dealt with before this plant can really go down. And before the gas babe even really needs to do anything, it prompts the swing. Center with a kill, traded by JYNXZI. 1 versus 1 with Hat stuck in staff. And JYNXZI ready for the play. Didn't need a case in hand. Just pops the swing out from Hat and gets exactly what he wanted. Jukes him out on the cameras and the calls. Not good enough when JYNXZI's that clean. And the gap now back within 1 round.
I mean, very well done by Outlast Black to really respond back after that hop out by Aiden Tax, just getting 2 big kills. And at that point, Outlast Black recognized that they need to take care of that one roamer who made his way back towards the sewer side, and then they get another one on top of that, just Eddie overexposing themselves on that teller's doorway, trying to shoot a drone that he did not need to go for. And at that point, Outlast Black slow things down tremendously, getting drones into position to find out exactly where the rest of JYNXZI Loyals are, recognize that they're all going to be on site, try to surround the case, try to open up as many opportunities into the bomb site. If they open up the hatch, get the opportunity for the ace to get in, to a spot to where he can maybe plant, but then at the very end, all you have to do is rely upon your last player to hit his shots, and that Twitch does exactly that to give them a good opportunity to strike back within 1.
5 seconds to insertion. Attacker's objective is to locate.
It's close. It's competitive. Outlast Black really making a map of this on the last map of the night. I believe the last map of the night across either channel, as I think XGS has finished up their stream already. I want to say Shubes. Spoiler alert for the next 5 seconds. I want to say that Shubes went down 0-2 to Core. Can't guarantee that, but that was over on their channel, so maybe they're still live. Not sure. I'm locked in, so can't confirm it. But Outlast Black, they're locked in, and they've won 4 out of the last, I want to say, 6 rounds, which is a pretty solid streak. It was a 3-0 lead for JYNXZI Loyals, and now they've clawed it back to getting really, really close off the back of a really good attacking side. This basement attack, though, seemed to be something that they struggled with prior. And so I can't imagine this will get too much better.
Can't imagine it would at this point. They're still struggling with getting into a position where they can start to pressure out some of these open area players, send some Kwan highs to clear out some of that player over towards the corner. Do deal a ton of damage to Aiden as he's able to sneak his way back to the bomb site. That's a very big missed opportunity for Outlast Black, but that may pay dividends later on in the round as they've now finally got some of that control over towards open area. Now with half the round left to go, they can start to work on the site itself, try to get some of those hatches open, give themselves ample opportunities, and send those drones in to try to find information. They once again need to deal with these Goyo canisters on the bomb site, and there's 2 right in the path of Stocky. But he takes a bit of damage just trying to get into position and maybe shoot them out. Is able to do so, so now he has made his big impact with the last minute to remain.
Already so much time gone off the clock. They bring the Habana this time to maybe open up an angle. Oh,
Did
I
he
think
miss?
that, yeah, I think he hit the computer.
Oh,
So he
no.
will not be able to open up the angle underneath the Mira window. That opened Mira will do its job and successfully making it pretty much impossible to plant on default. They managed to bait out some util. Unfortunately, the util kills Stocky, so I don't quite think they wanted that. JYNXZI now rotating all the way around the other side as OUTLAST Black are fumbling to get into the basement. And JYNXZI Loyals are just so comfortable in sitting where they are. Aiden is even in, or Eddie rather, is inside of CCTV. Maybe they don't have the hatch open or something, but he's just kind of chilling up on the desk, waiting for someone to walk right into him, because he'll be in the corner where they won't expect him. Only 10 seconds, and they still need to make this play. I think they have spotted out Eddie. They should be able to get this kill. No, they don't. He gets 2. Eddie gets away with highway robbery inside of the site, and it's flawless for JYNXZI Loyals as they put themselves on match point.
I mean, just absolutely ridiculous circumstance for Eddie to find himself in, but he makes the most of it. You might be right that they did not get that hatch open. I'm not sure exactly what happened from OUTLAST Black, but just either nobody was covering that, and he's able to just push so far in and then find every single other kill from the server players. That's just a very sloppy execute from OUTLAST Black, not able to open up that mirror wall. Granted, it is difficult with the Habana. That's a big counter to her in that kind of take. But still, that's 2 different times now that the OUTLAST Black has seen that exact kind of take, and it ran into the exact same problems. Dealing with those Goyo canisters, dealing with Smoke Babes denying that plant. They cannot do anything differently than what they did prior. Even in a slightly better position, they allow Eddie to get in such a deep, pivotal spot apparently that he's able to stop that entire push, and then all that JYNXZI Loyals has to do is watch every other entry point from OUTLAST Black, either towards Marble side, either garage or elevator hatch. There's not a whole lot else that OUTLAST Black can do other than just try to jump in, find those kills at the very end.
Give it their best go. Spawn peek attempted by Aiden Tax. We haven't seen this since map number 1. It worked when he tried it there. Doesn't work this time. Dumpstered on that angle by John. And JYNXZI Loyals perhaps a little too cocky that they've just hit match point. Play a little too far out and get punished for it instantly. That is the confidence booster you needed if you're OUTLAST Black. And with that, everybody gets on rappel, and we get ready for a second floor attack in 2025, which is like 2 minutes of pretty much just baiting, more or less, on the rappel. Using some util, maybe chucking some drones in, breaking whatever you can on the site before the inevitable jump in. Double castle barricade towards quad. And I think that John has spotted that this would be a pretty free entry if they just gave that up for free.
Definitely going to be interested to see where Stocky goes, because he's droning out himself in lobby side, so may be able to find a big entry point over towards that side. Granted, there is a bulletproof from OUTLAST for JYNXZI Loyals actually watching the main spiral stairs, so he may not have the easiest pathway, but if JYNXZI can open up this elevator wall, that'll give him at least a little bit of a freer path to try to make sure that nobody can either pressure him from the hallway or from elevator itself. At least give himself an option later on for when he starts to make that push up. But the main point of attack is going to be on these windows, which still looks like OUTLAST Black is setting up for, with Brazy likely to send in some of those Capital smoke bolts and flames, trying to give Demented a little bit of space to go for that plant.
Kanto wall opened up to cut off anybody who wants to rotate back from square, from marble, from over near stock, maybe, as that's where Rice is set up, just in that hallway. If he gets cut off by this player on Kanto, that'll be rough, because it'll basically be a 3v5 on the side itself, or a 3v4, because they do have the Kanto player who's shutting him down, and he just needs to lock in on Rice's position. Maybe could have found an angle onto Eddie, but JYNXZI gets dumpstered off that angle. That was Rice all the way by stock. who shuts down the ace that we were just watching at Kanto. That is insane. Another kill for JYNXZI Loyals. These things are getting better, and they look poised to close things out. And if Rice has it his way, they will do just that. It is only John who seems to want to have his way. He gets what he wanted, but he just can't get enough. 3-piece in the last round, and it's just not quite there. Last alive, last to keep him from falling, and he won't be able to do more than just the 3. Big game for John individually, big map for him at least, but that is all she wrote for Outlast Black in this series. They took map 1, but the next 2 go to JYNXZI Loyals, and they'll take the series 2-1.
Just showing some of that raw mechanical power that he has. Rice just absolutely done with this series. Absolutely denies any of that presence over towards Elevator Hall, getting rid of that Kanto wall player. And then just from there, all of a sudden, just getting some nice shots in onto that Blackbeard as well from Banana. Just really throwing a thorn into the side of Outlast Black, which was already going bad after that great opening pick that they got. And then from there, they just didn't really get much of anything. Those Capitao bolts just didn't seem to really do anything if they actually sent them out. So at that point, Outlast Black just kind of ran straight at the defense, ran straight into their strong points, ran into their crossfires. Not a whole lot else that they could do. Valiant attempt to try to fight their way back into that series in a great couple of rounds, but at the very end, JYNXZI Loyals showed exactly the mechanical presence that they all possess and their overall team coordination.
It was a great performance from Outlast Black on Cafe. I won't take that away from him, but I think all that the JYNXZI Loyals really get out of this series is that Cafe should be a map that you ban from now on, just because it feels like they didn't quite have the depth of knowledge they needed on that one. Outlast really, really looking comfortable on that smaller map. JYNXZI Loyals a little less confident to contest them for as much space, but once we saw Chalet, it was a different series after that. The JYNXZI Loyals got confident. They were swinging everything. They were playing with just a fire that was unmatched. And it looked really, really solid for them as they closed out the series, only losing 4 maps on those last 2 maps. Or 4 rounds on those last 2 maps, excuse me. But they still make it look nice on Bank. And, well, Outlast Black did what they could, but just not quite enough. And unfortunately, that will be all for Outlast Black. And that's all from us, from TPL and XGS, both of us. Already done, as it was 5 best of 3s tonight. And we're finished up just before or just after 10 p.m. Eastern time. A little bit earlier than I would have expected given that much siege happening. But we're back again tomorrow with, I think, 4 best of 3s, 2 on each channel. So make sure that you'll be here for that alongside, the grand final. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been happy with me. It's been serious. It's been an honor. And we will see you whenever you can make it back. Have a good one.